What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 53 of the Pylon Show. I am but one of your hosts, Jeff in Control Robinson, and we have a great episode for you guys this week. Before we get into the introductions, all that stuff, just a bit of a roadmap for you guys. Todd is late to the show. As far as we know, he will be here. He's in Vegas. We believe him to be some kind of secret agent for the French government. Doubles as a poker player, but he's just too suave to just be a poker player, so we'll get him added as soon as possible. The trolling of Dan is needed. But otherwise, we have a wonderful panel for you guys. This week, we were able to get the American side of Mr. Kevin RotterdaM08 YoanMerlo. Kevin, thank you for joining us, dude.
It's a lot easier, Jeff. It's a lot easier when it's like 5.
Isn't this a nice time of day?
I know, 6 p.m. What a perfect time to have a talk show, guys. I'm in a good mood. I'm ready for it.
Well, we're happy to have you here. We got a lot of spicy topics, and we're gonna just keep going right through it. Dan, you've been busy as all get out, but how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. The tournaments are kind of wrapping up. We have the KSL finals this weekend, and GSL we're halfway through the round of 8. So
PvP,
good times.
Excited for some PvP.
A lot of it, all over the place.
All right. Well, hey, so a couple things to announce for this episode, and we'll, of course, talk about it at the end and throughout, as we always do, but just give you guys a heads up. Like I said, Todd will be joining us. He'll be added in here, hopefully, as soon as possible. He was trying to hustle back through that Vegas traffic to get to his hotel room, so assuming that all works out, we'll have him added in, and we'd love to have him. Well, we'll skip the introduction. You guys know Todd. He's great. We're going to do an abbreviated episode. Dan has somewhere to go tonight as well, so we're not going to do This Week in Starcraft, but I do want to direct you guys towards our show notes, which we can post in the chat, but will, of course, always be attached to our YouTube video, and are just always a part of our regular programming, and there's some great stuff in there. There's some wonderful tournaments. Ooh, I actually speak of the damn devil. There's the handsome man himself, Todd. Todd, thank you for joining us, buddy.
Thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I think you're fine, right? You guys can all hear him?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay. Well, Todd, we'll get, real quick. Actually, you're here. Todd, how you doing? You're in Vegas. You're crushing it. You feeling good?
Well, actually, my last 2 days have not been so good, but other than that, it's pretty good. I think, in cash game, it's going pretty well. I'm pretty solid, but in tournaments, not so much success. I did cash in the biggest tournament ever, like in the WSOP with like 28,000 people.
Holy cow.
There was like 6,000 I was on flight B and I finished like 868. So I played 16 hours and I made 750. So that's a $250 profit. That's pretty good, I think. No, isn't it?
Well, the cash
minimum wage over here.
Yeah.
If you would stream at European hours, Todd, like that's a top stream right there. So.
That's true. No, thank you for coming on, Todd. And like I was saying for everybody, Todd is in Vegas and he's making time out of his day to come out here and do this. So Todd, really appreciate it. I'm just road mapping real quick if you're just now joining us. So, know This Week in Starcraft, but do please check the notes. Alessandro does a fantastic job of it. There's some great stuff in there. We're going to get right into the topics. We've got some really spicy, informative, and interesting topics for you guys. One of which is Kevin wants to kind of talk about the Protoss feelings that are going around. We're going to talk with Todd about poker and Starcraft and why there's such interesting kind of similarities, or at least like a trade-off there, where there's a rich history of Starcraft people being very successful at poker and vice versa. And then, of course, we're going to cover some of the happenings and goings of the Starcraft world, including WCS, GSL, KSL, all that stuff. This one's going to have a little bit of a precursor to it, I will tell you. I really love our community, and we have a wonderful chat, but this topic today is going to handle a little bit of some stuff, right? When Kevin's talking about how Protoss is discussed and stuff like that, it's very normal for people to say some pretty flamey stuff. Let's try to keep that at a minimum. We're going to talk about the feardragon announcement, which is, of course, going to have some drama involved there as well. You're welcome to discuss in the chat. We encourage you to. But if you start saying really bad stuff about the hosts or people that aren't here and start using it as an opportunity to hate, we're going to ban you. We're going to forget you ever existed, and we're going to move on. So please don't be one of those people. We discuss it. Let's be mature and awesome, and let's try and do that. We're going to end with the Q&A. Ooh, bless you, Kevin. But we're going to try to get through all this, because like I said, Dan has to...
again.
Dan has to go, yeah, see? Well, oh, that's such a good inside joke. We talked a little bit about this. Anyways, so without further ado, let's jump into kind of the
What
first...
about the sponsors?
Oh, yeah. God dang, you're right. I almost always do that. I'm trying to kill our own show. real quick, the sponsors, guys. So first, okay. So first and foremost, this week is Echo Day. So if you want to go to Matcherino and put in our international day, it's ECO Day. Echo Day. You can put in that code. Doesn't cost you anything. Helps support the show. But also, Matcherino does. What's that?
What does that even mean?
Well, Dan, it's
Echo Day.
Ecological, man. It's World Day or something like that.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, that's not even how you spell echo. Echo.
It's another.
All right,
yeah, you got it. That's the most dad joke I've heard in a while. But you're the most dad guy I know, so I mean that kind of makes sense. But yeah, ECO Day, one word, and that will help us support the Matcherino spiel. Appreciate that, you guys. You can also buy some awesome merchandise on there. And then Matcherino does fantastic stuff with activations, and they work alongside all kinds of different Starcraft stuff, so check it out. We also have AFKT, a sponsor from Mr. Lycan, who recently released a video of him laying in a tub of milk and pouring cookies on himself and eating a steak out of the milk. So please check out AFKT for as long as his sanity will allow him to keep a company like that afloat. It should not be much longer. Our thoughts and prayers are with Lycan, of course, in these trying times. And then last, but certainly not least, in fact, it's the most prominent way, please do consider checking out our Patreon. Hundreds of you guys have continued to support us, 433 in fact, and that is incredible. We really appreciate that. This is the lifeblood of the show. It allows us to pay for artwork and for improved graphics, and of course to help put a roof over the head of the people that spend a lot of time on this, like Dan, myself, and Cobra. Your continued support is appreciated.
Is there a personalized thank you as a phone call as well on your Patreon?
Yes, Todd, I'm glad you actually said that. We haven't added the graphic yet, but at the $10,000 a month tier, I will actually have Tasteless do a face cam video with you in the nude from the chest up, so it's going to be good with the TOS. The room will be dark, and if you can hit $15,000 mid-call, they'll flip a switch on. Dan's behind him. So that's the face call that you can get. It's the full Tastosis experience, and honestly,
make it worth your while.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Like, none of that's guaranteed, but if you do give us $15,000, I'll make it happen. I'll fly to Korea, and I'll put together that phone call. But no, Todd, thank you. We're setting up those tiers later. Gotta talk to Nick. To get Nick to do that phone call, it costs about $5,000, so it's this whole thing. All right, thank you guys so much. So those are the sponsors. First topic. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. It's interesting. Yeah, we're just jumping right into it. We got a lot of interesting topics today. So this happened. It wasn't a big deal, is what I would say. So like this happened like last week. It was interesting for a moment. It had a little bit of a Reddit thread. I more want to talk about this to get your guys' opinion, but also as just kind of a PSA, because the players involved are not in trouble. That's the TLDR. It was not really fleshed out as these guys did something really nefarious. But my PSA or warning is more that this looks so stupid that in today's day and age, you have to be so careful. We've had Future on the show. He's a great guy. We haven't had Raze on, but he's kind of an up-and-coming North American player. And so what happened was we just had the WCS ladder races going on, and in the NA portion of this, Future, who has like 2 accounts in the top 5, I think it is, he's like crushing it. He's one of the best North American players by far. He was well into the qualified area. Kurt Cobain, thank you, chat. Yep, that's exactly right. Rebranded to Kurt Cobain. He late at night, I think it was like 5:30 a.m., in his own words, had just finished like 11 and a half hours of laddering and wanted to play some off-race games to cool off because he's in a StarCraft mind, is what he said. I think he played 3 games, and in all 3 games he hits his known buddy Raze, who is kind of on the bubble, and loses all 3 games inside of like 5, 7, 8 minutes or so. Off-racing a Zerg or random, which he never does. So on that account, no off-race games whatsoever. End of the ladder circuit, he does it. The wins all go to his teammate that's also competing. Or not teammate, but friend. It looks really, really bad. And Rotti, you and I were talking a little bit about this. Go ahead, Dan.
Before anyone gives their opinion, I do want to mention Future messaged me right before the show with some comments on it that he wanted to express because he felt like he was getting swamped out in the Reddit thread. So the first thing he mentioned was comparing it. Some people were comparing it to the Chinese situation that we had recently. And he wants to point out that it really is not the same thing. They were account sharing and leaving games instantly versus other Chinese players. So he feels like that's not a good comparison. Also, the way it was framed, it wasn't ending that day. That was the first day of the ladder qualifiers, so it wasn't as impactful as if this was on the last day of the qualifiers.
Agreed.
Obviously, yeah. And he also mentioned some people were talking about like life and match fixing and being paid money and stuff, but obviously this has nothing to. No one's paying WCSNA players for dropping ladder games, and that he's there's no motivation for him to match fix and drop games to someone who's been in Challenger a bunch of times, and he feels like the whole thing was stupid, and he's going to really avoid things like this in the future. But that's what he sent me as messages.
Thank you, and I'm glad. And it is stupid, by the way. So I'm going to turn over to you guys in a second, but I want to be clear just so that we're not like, because our show is a pretty big platform, so I don't want to muddle this. I agree. I think it is circumstantial, and the point of this topic is not that I think he's guilty of it. It just looked really bad at the time. My bigger point is it's so stupid. Like, you have to actually act very different around these things because people are watching and because other people have already fucked up in these areas before, right? We have had win trading. We have had this kind of stuff happen. And if you are like, you know what, for the first time ever, just right now, I'm going to off race, and whoa, I'm hitting my friend who's also trying to qualify. That is circumstantial, and for you guys, that makes sense. But you have to, as a young player, start thinking about things bigger than yourself. That's my point. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, you know my stand on it, Jeff. I first of all, like, I don't really think it matters that much whether it was day 1, day 2, or day 3. Like, if you purposely would give somebody 100 points, that's a very big deal because those points will carry over. However, I really don't believe that Future would do it. I know an argument of like, I know him or I trust him or he's my friend. Those things, they don't matter. But I just really, in no universe do I see Future and Raze talk to each other. It's like, hey, man, you know what would be a good idea if you play some Zerg right now? I just don't believe it. The story of him playing for 11 hours and then be like, you know what, I don't want to sleep right now. I'll play a couple Zerg games. He may have never off-race on that account, but there is obviously, he has played off-race, right? Like everybody has played off-race. Of course, yeah. So I do think that there is a lesson here for everyone. Please do not do this in the future. If you have those 4 days, if you have those 4 days of the ladder qualifier, those 3 days, that's not the right time to off-race, especially not on accounts that are particularly high level. If his Zerg is on a 5-4 or 5-5 account, then nobody will care. Just don't off-race on a 6.3K account. However, I really don't think there needs to be any action being taken here or any measures. I believe in the innocence of both these guys. I am very familiar with NA ladder. I may not be rank 1 or rank 3, but I'm also pretty high up on the ladder. At certain times, you will play the same guy. And this is not hard to organize or something. This is like, I don't even want it, but I can get puck 5 times in a row. And I don't like playing puck 5 times in a row because that's not that fun for me. Yeah. So the fact that they played 3 games in a row, the time of the day, even if that's at 5 a.m. and maybe that makes it look suspicious, that can also happen at 8 p.m. or at 7 p.m. It's just, what people are basically saying is that he's not allowed to play Zerg at that time. And like Jeff said, I think it looks stupid, it looks silly. And I honestly think that Future has learned his lesson already. Yep. But I don't believe there's any really false play here. I don't believe that we have to grab the pitchforks or compare it to any sort of other match fixing scandal because, in my opinion, this is just silly. It looks silly, bad timing. Never do it again, and let's move on. That's how I see it.
Yep. Todd, do you want to add anything to
it? I feel like in these kind of cases, like I don't know much about this one in particular, but maybe the rules could be a little bit tighter around that to make sure like there is less chance that it happens. And also, whenever something like that happens, I feel like it's not that hard to investigate and find out, if it was like really the person playing, and then obviously then all you would have to figure out is like, does he usually off race and stuff? But yeah, like it's kind of weird, right? We live in a world where if there is a little bit of evidence on someone, we're very quick to grab the pitchforks and stuff and be like, yeah, no, for sure, I feel like he did it. There's no way he didn't do it. So it's a dicey situation. So I kind of wish that, the rules can be made a little bit better so that we can in the future make sure that that doesn't happen. There's a lot of stuff like that happening everywhere. Like at the World Series of Poker right now in Vegas, there was like a high roller tournament, I think a 50K buy-in. And when they were 4-handed, I guess you need to know poker a little bit to understand that. But some guy raised, some guy reshoved, and then some guy behind, so some guy went all in, to simplify it, and some guy behind that was thinking. And the first guy who opened, he mucked, or like he folded out of turn.
Oh wow.
So then that made the call for the second guy very trivial, because he had ace queen. So he called, and the other guy had ace 10, and he busted the other guy in fourth place. And like there is so much like drama going on that right now in poker, where everybody's talking about this, because a lot of poker players, they swap action. So if the first guy that raised and then the guy that the ace queen swapped action, it makes sense that the guy would do that. And he's known as somebody that will angle shoot or kind of try to trick the system. So everybody's kind of jumping the gun and being like, no, he did it for sure. Like, we know he angled, but it's really hard to know. You know, maybe it was a honest mistake that he folded out of turn, but it seems unlikely. And especially in a tournament where there is 50, or like you paid 50,000, they're like the last four, they're playing for millions of dollars, you know, like it's crazy. So it's the same thing for over there. If the rules were made a little bit better, I feel like this would never happen. Like if you give somebody a proper penalty, because now nothing happened to him. He wasn't disqualified, not even a penalty.
So guys, I would like to touch on two things real quick. A lot of people may not be as diehard Starcraft as we are. They say like, why wouldn't he just play unranked? Guys, even if you play unranked, you may not see your MMR, but you have MMR. You will play against people that are ranked. So even if Future plays unranked, he will have a 6.3K account. And if he loses a game against Raze, Raze will still get the points. So ranked or unranked, even if you're unranked, you'll play against ranked people. That wouldn't make a difference. And last but not least, something that a lot of people focus on is like, well, what about the guys that they screwed over? Raze did not make it, by the way, guys. Raze did not make it into the top 4. So this is also not a, you know, it's not a last game of the weekend. Let's see who gets in. Oh my God, Future lost against Raze. No, this was early on in the weekend. Raze did not take a spot from anyone because Raze did not actually qualify. So I think those two things are important to keep in mind as well.
Thank you, Kevin. Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Well, I want to say, like, first off, they've already ruled on it. Nothing's happening to these two players. There's no discipline. Obviously, I definitely agree with you, Jeff, that Future has learned a valuable lesson here. I think that he will absolutely stay away from anything like this in the future. But yeah, this is one of those things. Like, I mean, we've been around a long time, and like I totally stand by the decision of Blizzard that he's not banned. I don't actually want to see him banned.
Yeah.
You know, he's one of the very best new up and rising talents in NA, so it's like really exciting to have him around and stuff. And I think he is a good guy. But that being said, the whole thing is fishy. If this happened back in Brood War, we probably would have banned him. This type of situation, we just look at back, yeah, go fuck yourself. Like, no, this is, you know. But we're in a more professional atmosphere here now, right? Where Blizzard can actually look at it very carefully and use whatever metrics they have to try to figure this out. But this whole type of thing, you know, we've seen stuff like that happen in the past, the trading of wins and stuff. It's people just need to not do this. It's really important to just keep as much integrity as you possibly can at all times, especially if you're a new up and coming player. You're a young guy, and maybe you haven't been around esports for 20 years and seen this happen before. Like every time anyone cheats in any esport, it's just like this thing. I'm like, oh, it happened again, like this way, or you know, or even in these gray areas, I'm like, look at that, we have this stupid gray area again, and it's yeah,
I agree.
And a lot of people get caught.
Annoying. Yeah.
A lot of people get caught, like, and still it doesn't teach, you know, it feels the next player to not do it as well. So like, there's definitely like, I don't know, I've seen so many, it's like so much cheating, you know, like in Warcraft 3, I've cheated twice. I played on somebody else's account twice. I got caught the first time and I still did it again. So I was pretty young. And then after that, I learned like not to ever do anything like this. And I've been extremely careful not to ever repeat that mistake. But for sure, I feel like if before I did it, I had seen somebody get caught, and then I would have realized, you know, it's like really stupid. Like even to just do it, you know, it's not worth it. It gives you like a really, really bad name. Yeah. And a lot of the time you're going to get caught. And even if you don't get caught, like it's something, you know, like you have to live with. It's like just not a good thing, not worth it. But it feels like it just keeps repeating on every game, and like time after a few years, maybe, you know, like in StarCraft, we've had our fair share of events like this. I feel like it teaches people for a little bit, but then maybe some people do it again. So in this case, like, I'm not saying the guy is guilty, but it would make me happy to hear less about cheating stuff in esports for sure.
So to put a ribbon on the topic, a couple things that came up. Caleb, I can never pronounce your name. He's a high NA ladders are
Collaborators.
there. Kevin just did. Kevin
If
nailed
you
it.
say Caleb, they're like it's Caleb, and then you say Caleb, and it's like Caleb, and then it's like Caleb.
Caleb, he's probably French Canadian. Anyways, he was saying they analyzed the replays and they're cleared. So I'm just giving voice to this because important people hear this. They're cleared. There is not going to be a punishment. There's no ongoing investigation. I think one of the nice ways to put this that everyone in the show is kind of saying one way or another. I think we could hear Future Terran's eyes rolling from wherever he is to now. Like, this probably seems really stupid to him, but it's more important that the message goes out. Honestly, it looked really bad. Once it was explained and looked into, it's like very clear to me that it's just a mistake. It's fine. I don't really think there's any foul play here. But it's really important that people hear in StarCraft, it's a very subjective world. Like, if this kind of thing kind of happens a couple more times, people tip over from the, like, maybe he's innocent to the, like, he's guilty as fuck. And then that can actually ruin a career. It can make it look really bad. The mob can pressure Blizzard to do things. And I know people hear stuff like that, and they start to be like, well, that's not right. That's not fair. Unless you have full proof, you can't punish. And I don't necessarily disagree. It's just not the world we live in. So hear this, and hear Dan's message in particular, where it's like, it's a mistake. It's probably so stupid to you. I get it. But you are a high-profile player. You are qualifying for something that awards money. And you are playing in a realm where people have cheated similar to this. So whether you like it or not, you have to act differently. Which brings me to another point. Shane Rama in the chat was talking about this, and this is something other people were voicing. That doesn't seem fair. Pro gamers can't just play however they want at whatever time they want during these things. No! No, they can't. No, they're different. And if we live in this world where you need to be told that at age 24 or 5 or whatever you are, let Papa Jeff be the guy that tells you that. Sometimes you're in a position where you're not like everybody else. You have to act differently, and you have to conduct yourself in a different way. And if you don't like it, hopefully you're in a position where you can get yourself out of there. So if Future's like, well, I want to fucking ladder a Zerg whenever the hell I want. Cool. Then don't do it during the qualifier, or if you do, there's a chance you can get fucked. And that's just the world we live in. Right? Anybody else want to add anything? Because I think that, like, anything on the topic?
I think we can move on from this one.
Okay.
We've all said everything that we need to say.
Very good. So thank you guys very much. The next topic, and this is the... Ooh, baby! This is a big one. So let me give this a little bit of an introduction and remind the chat to please conduct yourselves really well. Better than me. Let's do that standard. There you go. So you have to act better than me, which shouldn't be too hard, but, you know, that's the challenge. So earlier this week, Mr. Ravi announced, and this is funny, because I'm going to announce something for him that he announced, but I think every fucking idiot on Reddit missed, somehow. He's not retiring.
Yes.
He's not quitting StarCraft 2. He's stepping down from being full-time, which he was doing for roughly 3 months. And I'm guessing a lot of you didn't know that, but there you go. He made this really clear post about why he's doing these things. And it's really important that people hear this now, because again, it sounds like a lot of people missed this. The TLDR on this is, 1, he had issues with his mental state, essentially, dealing with pressure from, or not pressure, but criticism from peers. We'll get to that in a second. But also just kind of dealing with having thick skin and the challenges of that, which all commentators or personalities do on some level. Number 2, and this one's really, I hope a lot of people pay attention to this because this is sad and this is incredible what he's doing. One of his parents is diagnosed with cancer, and it's dangerous enough that they're immediately going into treatment. And he wants to be close to his family so that he can help give support and help them heal and battle this life-threatening ailment. And that's an incredible sacrifice, but in doing so, he doesn't feel like he's going to have enough time or ability to be full-time StarCraft. And then number 3, he talked about the finances and how he took a 75% cut, and that was just not sustainable or feasible to move on. So it's really important that we hear those 3 reasons, because sadly, what we're largely going to talk a lot about is how one of the reasons got used to become kind of a weird hate fest. But Ravi contacted us and wanted to say some words about this topic as well. And he said these things on Twitter, so this is rehashing again. But he kind of just wanted to say, number 1, he's not quitting esports, which is the joke I just made. So that was kind of a weird thing. People are like, wow, it's going to be sucked that he's gone. It's like, not gone at all. He's going to be in the same capacity. Like, in fact, he's like, I know that he's commentating a couple of WCSs coming up and stuff. So people are going to be like, I thought you retired. So be like, wow, that's really weird. And then number 2, he regrets naming names in his post. And the only name, well, there's 2 names that he mentions. It's Rifkin and Petit Drogo. It's going to get weird because there's actually a third name that materializes from that. And it's me. Surprise. So we'll get into that in a second. I just kind of want to introduce this topic, but that's where a lot of the discussion ends up happening. But first and foremost, I want to say it's this announcement, like, it was really weird how it got mishandled, but I hope everyone turns this around into like a support for feardragon. Like, one of his parents has cancer and their life's in danger. And it was weird how the topic never even touched that. Like, if you read the 2 big threads on Reddit, 1 discussing the announcement, and 2, a 15-second breakdown of the clip and how it wasn't actually Rifkin to blame, it's just Jeff, made by the guy that argued with RotterdaM on Reddit for hours and hours about how the Chinese scene is riddled with...
Oh, that's that guy.
It's that guy.
Oh my god.
And the best part about it is if you click his account, that's actually all he does. In other forums as well. There's a whole lot of, like, he breaks down videos and goes into it, and he's like, here's why this is happening, and here's my tinfoil. It's really weird. So we'll get into that, but please give love to Ravi. He's a really emotional, sensitive guy. He loves his community more than anything. There's definitely some supportive messages from that, but, like, support him. He's still going to be streaming. He's still going to be commentating. He's still the guy that we love. It's really sad what he's dealing with. Let's, give him some love for that. So that's what happened. And before I kind of get into my spiel, I'll turn over to you guys. So Todd, did you see this thing get announced and see what happened, or is this kind of foreign to you?
Yeah, no, I read about it a little bit. I mean, it's pretty sad, obviously, like this whole thing. But yeah, I think he touched on the fact that, you're kind of expected to have thick skin.
Yeah.
I think, as we all know, there is always going to be times where, like, it gets to you, and sometimes more than other. So at the end of the day, there's some casters that do a really good job of, like, not ever caring about what anybody says. They just, like, try to collect feedback by asking something close to them or something. But then if you ever open, whether it's Twitch chat, I guess the 2 main places is like Twitch chat or Reddit, there is definitely some, like, spicy comments in there about pretty much everybody's commentary. So it's I think it's sad that he let it get to him, because I enjoy his commentary, I enjoy his company a lot, and I think he's like one of the best people in all of Starcraft.
Oh yeah.
So
one of the most passionate.
It's sad that he's not doing it full time, but if he's still gonna cast it, which I'm hopeful for, then it's still good, I guess.
So good opening thoughts. I want to go there first. And this is an important distinction, and I'm going to turn over to you guys, but he actually said something that's completely misconstrued, but it's actually very poignant. It was very real for me. He was saying, as a commentator and as a personality, you expect to get shit on by Reddit and Twitch chat. Like, everyone gets that. And he was talking about how sometimes it's hard, and like Todd just said, even if you have thick skin, sometimes it gets to you anyways. But, and I feel this very much so too, in the rare few times it's happened, specifically when you get criticized by peers, and there's two spectrums of this. When a pro gamer complains about a commentator, that one's a little easier to deal with, because pro gamers whine, bitch, and are wrong just all the time. They're just always wrong and whining. So that's easier to take, right, pro gamers? Johnson, I see you in the chat. Anyways, thanks for ladder points. But the one... I'm just kidding. But the one that is hard, and it's like... The one that's hard and is kind of a sacred, almost unspoken territory, is when a commentator publicly criticizes another commentator. That is always like the red button. That's full nuclear, right? Like if I, and to be honest, I'm going to turn over to you guys in a second. I don't even know if you have examples of this happening to you, but when it happens, it's a tough time, right? So the picture that Ravi tweeted, and this is just the nature of this, I'm going to ask people to please don't turn this into a hate fest, because it's not what this is about. Rifkin's a guest on the show. He's a guy that puts on great stuff. I'm not trying to turn into that. But Rifkin made a mistake. Rifkin made a big, long, thought-out post about how commentators, and he named specifically, were not doing a good job as far as he's concerned. This is kind of that same situation as Future of Terran, where it's like, if Rifkin was Kevin Jabalomi642 on Reddit, nobody fucking cares. That doesn't matter. But because he's Rifkin, one of our peers, that comment takes a lot more weight and is potentially more evocative. It's more, right? So that's why Ravi cites that as one of the moments it was really hard for him to take that. What probably should have happened if it was really bothering Rifkin is instead of like posting it out publicly and being like, I really don't think they're commentating very well, he should hit up one or all of the WCS commentators and be like, guys, I don't know if something's going on, but here's what I noticed, and like kind of talked about it or something like that, because he's a peer. So I'll turn over to you guys, but what do you guys think about that situation and how that was talked about?
Dan?
Okay, so it's kind of interesting actually, because I didn't think of it in the way that you're saying about how because a commentator is saying it, it's kind of taken a life of its own, which is kind of interesting, because if like there's two pro gamers and one pro gamer says the other pro gamer sucks, they'll probably just play against each other or compare records, right? And then it'll be like, yes, I guess Cyril can say whoever he wants sucks. Whereas in commentary, it's you can't truly measure anything, right? It's all kind of opinion based. It's all kind of subjective. So I just find that kind of interesting that is such a taboo for a commentator to publicly say something about another commentator. I kind of wonder why that is. Like, why is that? Like, not that I don't agree with what Rifkin was like saying or something, and I actually enjoy both of their commentaries, but I wonder, why is that so bad because a pro gamer can say it about another pro gamer, right? And it's not that big a deal. So why can't a commentator say about another commentator? What's the deal there?
Well, so before you completely misconstrue my words, I'm not saying can't. I'm saying when they do that,
no,
it's more emotionally charged.
You say you can't. Yeah, exactly. But why is that? Is it because for a pro gamer, it probably wouldn't be, right?
Oh, it is. I mean, it's different though. They, like you said, they just yell at each other real quick. Go ahead. I've talked a lot, Kevin.
Dan says, I think, because like in the end, even though we are not like in a direct competition and we're all friends, like I think the moment that commentators would more often speak out of what they think about other commentators and why they suck, then I think you are creating much more of a competition. Even though maybe in a way we are in a competition, I honestly never really feel it like that, and I don't know how it is for others. But obviously, the more that would happen, the more a competition would be. But then I also think it becomes quite awkward. Because then when you suddenly have like, if I'm going to sit there and be like, Jeff, he's really good at Warhammer, but Starcraft, and then like, next week is like, hey, I'm so excited to be at WCS Austin with my good friend in control. Like, that's going to be really awkward. So maybe
totally. Okay, I think I'm starting to think it through a little bit better, because I remember there being a time where like CSGO commentators were shitting on each other and just making everything awkward and weird, and we were all sitting in our little StarCraft 2 world and being like, isn't it nice that we're all friends? Okay,
and that had consequences.
It just kind of like confused me for a moment.
I think it's like a little bit of professional courtesy, because even though we don't necessarily all work for the same employer, even though for the most part, it's going to be Blizzard and all these events, but like I don't think feardragon and Rifkin, they cast an incredible amount together. They're just two commentators of the scene. So maybe it doesn't apply as it would, in a company where like if you think that somebody's doing a bad job, it would be the same thing. Like, you're not supposed to go to them and tell them like you're fucking terrible at your job, like to their face. Usually, like you would try to explain it maybe in a civilized fashion, or maybe go to HR if they're really doing a terrible job, or like to your boss and try to explain them that. But like, you wouldn't make like a public forum or write on the dashboard, this guy is doing a terrible job, blah blah. Here's what I think of him, right? But yeah, like I said, in StarCraft, I don't know that feardragon and Rifkin cast together a whole lot, so they're not two employees of one company, so it's maybe a little bit different in that regard.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this is so interesting. Ravi did say that in his post, by the way. I'm not actually inferring or putting words in his mouth. He did kind of spell out that specifically when you get it from your peers as a person that's struggling with confidence, it's a tougher thing to deal with. And I think the other side of this, to just kind of add to it, and another reason why, is because casters / streamers, which pretty much all casters are like more than just a caster. They do a lot more. You have a community that is built around you on some level. So when you tweet or post on Reddit with your name and you're saying something, it's not just you saying that. It's you garnering a wave of people that are going to kind of come in. And whether people like it or not, you're responsible for that, right? So a lot of times when a pro gamer does that, do they have a community? Yes. But it's kind of a little bit different. They're more like fan people. They're people that like cheer them on and support them. Sure, they'll say some stuff. But if Dan were to like write out a 3-point, like, here's why I really didn't like Todd at Katowice, and here's what he could do better, that's gonna fucking have ripples. It's going to have echo, and it's going to go places. And that's why the professional courtesy kind of comes up, where it's like, if you really are concerned with someone doing a better job and you do care about them, the more effective and better way to go about that is to talk to them privately. Whereas if you do it publicly, maybe it's a mistake, and in Rifkin's case, I do honestly think that's what it was, but maybe you're also kind of shitting on that person's day. Like, there's going to be negativity that just drops down on them because of your voice, and that's why you don't do it.
I do want to say, though, that obviously, like, this also is maybe a little bit worse because it's Ravi, and like you said, Ravi has already struggled with confidence, and Ravi is one of the guys where, you know, 9 of us can say that he's doing an amazing job, but then if one person says he doesn't, he will be much more hang up on that person. Like, I don't know if you remember this, Jeff, and I highly doubt it, but a long time ago when you did a talk show, I forgot who was on the show. You were on the show. You didn't say anything, but I know that, I mean, what's the talk caster? Panic.
Panic Switch? No, wait,
no,
what?
the old caster who always streamed and fell asleep. Damn it. Sorry.
Oh, Pain User.
Pain User, yeah. So Pain User was on the show, but I think it was somebody else who said it, but he really agreed. And somebody was like, does anybody else think that WebDevs should tone it down a notch? Because apparently we're having too much fun. And then Pain User was like, yeah. And Bitter and I just looked at each other like, donkeys, you know, like, and we just kind of moved on. Like, we really didn't care. We were not hang up about it. And yeah, you remember it, but it doesn't bring me down. It doesn't bother me. But I think, you know, every person will take it same. Now, obviously, what you said is indeed, like, if after a Katowice, where I work together greatly with Dan, and then Dan goes home and he writes a paragraph about why he thinks that I didn't do a good job, yeah, that would probably sting like a little bit more, right? Because first you're together as a team, and then suddenly you're like, wait, what the hell? Are we like actually, are we rivals now or something?
Yeah.
You know, so I guess every situation is a little bit different. And I think, like, if Rifkin would write it about somebody else, I think it would be less of a big deal than writing about Ravi, who's already kind of having a tough time and doesn't often believe in himself.
Yeah. So I guess, so with the rest of the topic, because honestly, that was pretty much it. That was, you know, it's really important for Ravi. He contacted us, like I said, and it's important to put out there. He's not quitting. I know he's actually hired for a couple events coming up. So for some people, there's gonna be some really dumb comments in the chat, but like, he's still around. He's still doing stuff. I really hope people. I love how honest he was too. By the way, that's another kind of part I want to put out there. It's actually really hard to be honest as a public figure in general, because most people will hear that and appreciate it, but there is a percentage of people that are gonna be like, well, that's what I'm gonna use to try to hurt you now. So Ravi's gonna get some comments that are really nasty, and he's a super emotional guy, but he wants to share that with the community. So it's tough, but know that you're a part of that and try and support him. Be extra nice or something. I don't know, but just know that he's now going to get that stuff because he wanted to share that with people, and I think that's something worth protecting. So last thing on the topic, we'll talk a little. I have to, because otherwise it'll be weird. But I get brought up in a thread, like I said, it's from that kind of troll guy. And let me give my spiel real quick. You're not about to hear me say everyone's wrong and I'm right and you're all stupid. I really want to say, my style. So for people that don't know, the thread was kind of talking about how I was really mean to feardragon, and this is that kind of old meme that comes up where I really bully him and it's really bad and all that kind of stuff. It actually died off for a while, but it came back with this thread. But it's on Reddit, so whatever. And most of those guys are banned from my channel because they're fuckwads. I'm just kidding. So this topic came up. You're going to expect me to say something like, I'm the perfect caster and I never do anything wrong. Like, let me set it straight. I don't think my style is for everyone. In fact, I know it's not. So if you don't like me as a commentator or you think I'm not funny, that's okay. You're totally fine. I expect that. The other part of this is my style in Fear Dragons did not blend well, and I think if you go back to the earlier WCS, I stepped over the line. Yeah, I was kind of mean to him because I was trying to figure out how to joke and banter with him, and he played like the unconfident wounded guy, and that doesn't do well with the big blonde-haired guy that's trying to make jokes. It doesn't look good. So over time, I tried to dial it back and figure it out and gauge. Because the other side of this too is that's kind of what I do. You're not gonna get straight-laced Jeff that doesn't make jokes, because that's not why I get hired for events. So a lot of that back and forth happened, but in the most recent few broadcasts, you'll notice the threads about being protective of Fear Dragon and stuff, they're not there, and that's because I'm gauging and I'm trying to figure out what's best with him. And also, he's getting more confident, he's doing a different job too, so there's kind of an evolution there. But I'm not funny to some people, and that's okay. So, like, there's comments in the thread where they're like, I don't like Jeff's commentary. That's okay. But I'm just trying to give you kind of insight into how the Fear Dragon thing worked. But then it got to a weird place where they're like, it just got really attacking again, and I don't know what to, I don't know what to tell you. Like that just kind of got weird. Like they took a 15-second clip from that troll guy and they kind of talked about how I was really mean to him. This is the part where I tell you, sometimes I step over the line and I don't like it either, and I try to work on engage it. You're not going to hear me say like all my jokes are great. I know they're not. Some of my jokes suck ass, and some of my style doesn't work very well. So that's all my answer. That's all I'm putting out there. You guys have anything to finish the topic?
No, I just want to go back to what you said in the beginning, and that's why you're like, this is a really heavy topic. And I understand there are a couple of very heavy parts about it, right? Obviously, Rafi having a family member that's very sick, that's really sad, and that's something that obviously everybody should respect. And when there is 70 comments of people just randomly attacking you again because there's one clip, like that kind of stuff is already messed up. But I think if you take that out of it, I think it was all blown out of proportion a little bit. Like people were talking about it like, somebody is gone forever, like we've lost Fear Dragon to League of Legends. I'm like, guys, he was only full-time for 3 months. He just kind of gave it a shot. And I think the last thing, because some people are also spiraled in a way like, well, that's StarCraft, everybody's out of a job soon, you just can't live off this game. I think it's important to mention as well that he lives in arguably the most expensive city in the world. Like, guys, just because he cannot support himself by living in one of the most expensive cities in the world, that doesn't mean that it's all gloom and disaster for everybody. Like if Rafi would make the same amount of money of StarCraft, I have no idea what he makes exactly of StarCraft, but that's not really the point. It's just that somebody's living in one of the very, very most expensive places in the world. Like, yeah, then it's going to be hard to make a living, especially if you don't have a very big stream yet, because Rafi has always had a full-time job in the past. This is not somebody that has been streaming non-stop for 7 years full-time. It's like, guys, like I think it's been blown out of proportion a little bit, right? Like, okay, he tried to give it a go. It turns out in the end that this is not really working out because it's just going to be very tough. But hey, it's freaking San Francisco, San Jose. Like a lot of us are going to have a very tough time making a living there if we just started streaming full-time as well. Like basically just entering. So I think people kind of skip that part.
And I think to go back to your commentary and like the examples that were used, Jeff, I think like that always gets blown out of proportion, like because you're like, the big confident guy that will make the jokes and like nobody can really out-talk you for the most part. So like there's always, that's always going to rub some people off the wrong way, like you make fun of it at times. And I really wish like, people would look at it objectively and they would realize that, nobody's really getting mad except for maybe a couple rare occasions. Like the first BlizzCon that I did when we were on the desk, maybe you got like on my nerves twice, but like
I remember that so well.
For like 5 minutes, I was like, I'm just not gonna laugh at these fools' jokes for the rest of the segment, and then we'll see who's laughing.
Oh my god!
But other than that, I think it's been.
You really got him, Todd. You really got him.
Like, like sometimes, so like for the most part, all casters are cool with one another, but sometimes there's going to be argument. Like we know, like that little maggot Nathanias got on my nerves too at a couple of events, and then I wasn't talking to him, but now we're cool. But yeah, like people always kind of blow that out of proportion because of the impression that it gives, right? Like you're just like cocky, confident, you're making the joke,
Thanks
and then
chat,
like,
by the way.
I just want to give a tiny bit of backstory before the reason I'm laughing. I don't remember everything anymore to great detail, guys, but just imagine me sitting at a desk looking at Todd, and I've known Todd for like 7 years at this point, and I can see that he's steaming out of his mind. And Jeff is like, "You're really angry, aren't you?" Todd is like, "You're just a big bully." Then Jeff is like, "Hey guys, I'm just a big bully," and like Jeff making fun of Todd, and Todd is getting angrier by the minute, and I'm sitting there, I'm watching two trains collide. Yeah. I'm like, oh god, this is gonna be an amazing weekend. It was so funny.
Yeah, I kind of like almost lost my train of thought, but there's a couple of things I want to put out there, and these are good stories, and actually, there's a few, to be honest, and one of the funniest things in the thread, and we're not going to go line by line, because I'm not that defensive about it, to be honest, like I said, there's going to be people that hate my commentary. I'm totally okay with that. Most people, like the reason you hate my commentary, most people like me for that reason, so I'm going to keep getting hired for it. I'm just going to try to do a better job not hurting people's feelings, but actually, I hurt Kevin's feelings one time. It was a story I brought up a lot. One of the first home story cups I did with him, and this is like young Jeff too anyways, which is like, in retrospect, why would you ever make fun of someone's accent? But one time, Kevin like tripped over a couple of words, and I don't even know what I said, but it was probably something stupid along, I was like, whatever, like really stupid. And Kevin looks at me and is like, mate, I don't find that funny at all. Don't make fun of my fucking accent. I'm trying my best I can to speak several languages. Like, I want to see you speak several languages. And I could tell Kevin was actually mad, so I was like, in my head, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I've done it again. Because honestly, despite my style, I really don't want to hurt people's feelings, and I have. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm innocent. I'm not. In fact, this whole call is filled with people that at one point or another has had to pull me aside and be like, yo, knock that shit off. Like, Dan has done it several times. Yeah, Dan, well, oh my God. No. You say that, now I'm going to get a thread. Anyways, like Todd, like I said, there's been a couple times where Todd, too, I've stepped over the line, and I've had to dial it back. And I'm going to tell you, the people that are like, I don't like the way Jeff talks about Rubby. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. There are times where our styles didn't mesh. It's not okay. And I'm just trying to put out there in the atmosphere, I'm aware of it, and I'm trying to work on it, and I'll do better as we move forward. If you still hate me after hearing that, that's totally okay. You're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. But it is just a fact of life. Like, that's just what I do. I try to make jokes and be silly while not hurting people's feelings.
I think this doesn't just go for you, Jeff. This also goes for all of us. Like, I've also had a couple of moments, even very recently. I got a DM of someone. I'm not going to really go down to details, but he was like, hey, man, I keep getting clips of you apparently making fun of me. Like, why are you doing this? I thought we're friends. And I'm like, well, actually, it's like, you know what? You're right. Like, I did this maybe a few too many times, but I thought we are friends. I thought it's okay. He's like, yeah, but people keep linking me clips, and everybody's asking why you're hating me. And I was like, you know what? I was like, you're actually right. I'm sorry, and I'm actually going to be a little bit more careful in this regard. And you should know that.
Rifkin send you this?
No, it wasn't Rifkin. I was like, you should mean it. I mean no harm. And he's like, okay, it's all good. He's like, I was just confused because, it really feels like there is something. I was like, no, not at all. But you know what? You're right. Actually, we think sometimes it's funny, but if you don't have the person next to you, even if you're friends, you can come across a little bit wrong at one point. So, I think it happens to all of us. I did it at Home Story Cup once as well. I had a few too many drinks and kept making fun of Night End. I thought I was really funny, but then it turned out to be not funny anymore. And like, you learn from that. Like, okay, I was kind of a dick at one point. And I was like, damn it, I shouldn't have done that. But yeah, you make you learn and you move on and you try to not do it again.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's good on that. And this is about what Dan says on the show, so I think this is actually totally fine. The handsome young man.
I want to throw one more thing in here about the subject, because it seems like overall it wasn't really working out the full-time thing for feardragon. You seem to be not completely happy with it, which is totally fine, and like it's not for everyone for sure. It's a hard thing to do full-time. You have to. It's hard to make enough money to do everything, to have stability and things like that in your life. So I think it's pretty understandable, and people shouldn't be too upset if he doesn't want to do it. I mean, you also got to remember that the things that people are saying, like if you take a lot of stock in compliments that people leave you online, you're also going to take a lot of stock in things that are tearing you down. So missing out on that confidence, I think, is a big part of the whole thing. I mean, you can't just be like, oh, the comments where they're nice to me are the ones that I'm going to listen to, and the ones that where they're bad to me are the ones that I'm not. I mean, you should be looking for patterns either way, but yeah. Most people can't do that and shouldn't do that. So, yeah.
Oh my God, Juggernaut Jason, why did Artosis put Hero Marine down? He is such a funny guy. God. Can you just be my guy in a window? Like, I want Juggernaut Jason just right here, just saying shit. Anyways, much love to Rubby. Well, of course, he's... like I said, the kind of joke about this is he's still going to stream, he's still going to be at events, so it's just that he wanted to announce that he's stepping down for full time, and here's the reasons why. It got blown out of proportion. Hopefully people will have a better idea of what's going on. And that's it. So I think we're good on that topic. We'll move on to this next one, which should be just as controversial, but it's going to be like afterwards controversial. But it's also Kevin saying it, so I think it can't be controversial because he's just too nice of a guy. But Kevin wanted to talk a little bit, and this is... I love it too. Every time we're like, let's talk about this topic. It's for Protoss on the show, so that's going to be the first thing people say. So let me steal your thunder and be like, yeah, I know, it's for Protoss. But I'm really bad. Dan plays mostly StarCraft Brood War. Todd's a poker player, and Kevin is fucking RotterdaM. So if you think you can be mad while Kevin's talking, then you got some anger issues, my friend.
Something wrong with you. At
Something's wrong with you, not us. Anyways, Kevin, why don't you introduce this? Why don't you talk about this?
Yeah, so honestly, like I feel like people really thought that I've been sitting in like my basement for a week and crunching the numbers and then came up with the ultimate conclusion. That's not how my tweet went. I literally walked to Starbucks and I was watching one of the games that Rotti was casting, and the day before I watched it, I'm like, I'm getting so tired of seeing these builds. And I'm like, why are these builds even so good? And with these builds, I mean PVZ, basically every variation of an Immortal all-in. Like whether it's the Marjorie, whether it's a Sentry all-in, whether it's 3 Adepts. I'm like, I'm just getting tired of it. I'm like, honestly, like, why is it so strong? I'm like, it's just a War Prism. It's like nothing else. It's not that the gateway units are that invincible. It's not that force fields are a real problem in this day and age. It's the fact that the Immortals can stay alive forever because of the Prism. If you dive on the Prism, you lose everything. And if you dive on the Immortals, the Prism will save them over and over again. So I was like, why don't we just nerf War Prism Pick and Range? And apparently I sparked a very sensitive topic there where a bunch of Protoss players started making fun of me. Certain, obviously, off-race players, they're like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Some Terrans said, like, well, even knighting, that goes way too far. And people are like, well, then Protoss can never do it. I kind of like Showtime response the most, where he's like, you know what, I actually don't disagree because, you know, not the 7-minute games are simply not that interesting. It's good for a while, and if somebody throws it in once in a best of 5, that's cool. But I don't want to see back-to-back best of 5s where almost every single game comes down to a 7-8-minute timing. You can tell me a lot of things, but that's not good for Starcraft, guys. Like, it may not be as bad as Swarm Mouse in 45-minute games, but it's not good. So I just want to see something change, and I would like to see those builds nerfed. And obviously Showtime said, it's like, I don't disagree. He's like, but the problem is that every Protoss is afraid of super late game against Zerg, Spore Crawlers, Broodlords, Infestors. As long as you don't address that, Protoss players will always be hyper-aggressive. He's like, and that's, so yeah, maybe that's where we should sort of start. I don't know what you guys think, but it was just me with a morning coffee getting sick of 7-minute TVs. That's basically what it was, okay?
Well, Dan and GSL hell right now. Protoss is...
GSL and KSL hell.
Yeah. You guys have any thoughts on it?
Well, I think the interesting part of the tweet was where you're kind of talking about the whining that people are doing and how it makes you feel, right, including the Protosses, so we don't feel like the target of abuse and whine. I think that's the more important part rather than the talking about the balance patch. I mean, I think eventually there is going to be some sort of balance patch. The Immortal builds are a little bit crazy right now. I don't know if you guys watched GSL last night.
I watched the PVZ. That's the one part I got from.
The PVT was actually quite good, but
is this classic Bopping Sue?
Yeah.
With all-ins every game? Yeah.
He all-in 4 games in a row. And one of them he did terribly, and that's the one he lost. So it was like, okay. But yeah, I mean, just the thing is, it's a meme. Like, whining about Protoss and stuff is a meme. But this has become, it's like too much now. You know, it's like Dead Game. It's like getting, it's over the line where it's like, guys, Dead Game just isn't funny anymore. It's just really not. Yeah. Also, Protosses don't win tournaments. Why are we actually doing this? Like, why? I mean, it can be stopped. I'm sure there'll be some sort of patch that changes things up eventually.
Yeah.
It's the meme itself has gone too far, and like just the meta around, there's like this whole thing around whining for your race because it's actually is valuable, because Blizzard does listen to some degree and does end up nerfing things and changing things, and it's annoying.
I mean, we saw Mana as well, right? Have a little outburst on Twitter where after he lost against 2 Terrans, like, I don't know what the tweet was exactly, but among the lines were like, I thought this matchup is unlosable. I'm just getting so sick and tired of all the stupid comments. But I can totally understand it. Like, PVT is my worst matchup. And it's not because the matchup is imbalanced or something. It's just like, I can see a lot of scenarios that I find very difficult. And on top of that, in the top 10 of the North American Grandmaster League ladder, there's like 5 Terrans. So you meet those guys a lot, and obviously your win rates go to hell. But it's just a non-stop whining about Protoss. Like, and I don't know if Nerdcho is memeing or not, but then Nerdcho takes a screenshot of like, you know, 3 out of 4 Protoss players qualifying in like the open qualifiers of Europe. I'm like, what? It's like, if you look at the guys that are already in, it's 7 non-Protoss. So basically the 7 best players in Europe. Yeah. It's like, well, look at the second generation of Protoss is really kicking ass right now. And then, of course, GSL is like a separate story, but it's just ongoing. It's nonstop. And yeah, I don't know if it's a meme or it's a wine, but I do think those are two separate conversations. Like, I think the whole Protoss thing is a bit silly, but I also think PvZ is silly, guys, and I mean it. It's not about like what's balanced or imbalanced. It's just that
Bad.
it's not. It doesn't look good.
I don't like watching it.
Yeah.
So, Todd, we're on the topic of whining, and as the only Frenchman on the cast, is it possible to whine too much, or is it just the beginning?
Impossible.
Yeah.
You can definitely whine a lot more. But to be honest, I thought about this a lot in the past. I remember that maybe what set people off, like in the case of like some pro gamers too, is not necessarily what you just said. But I remember like when I was a pro player, I disliked hearing casters talk about balance. So in the case of Rotti, he's also pretty damn good at the game, so maybe it's harder. But like when or even going back to earlier, you know, talking about like, you know, how Drogo talked about Raze casting and stuff. So I feel like if you put yourself in the shoes of the pro gamer, you have these casters, you know, they will talk about what they think is happening in the game, what they think the balance is at times on social media, not usually in their cast. But you as a player, you play like 50 times more than most of them. Not RotterdaM, or you, Jeff. Actually, only me, really, and tasteless. But yeah, as a pro gamer, sometimes it's hard to, you know, listen to that stuff and be like, I can't believe like this guy, you know, that plays so little in comparison, is saying this stuff. So maybe that's like why they get a little bit like rebellious and this kind of stuff. And like we saw Drogo, you know, say like he said something like, "Why is feardragon always wrong?" Maybe it was like a little bit of frustration like that. And maybe in this case of Rotti, maybe it's the same thing. Like the first thing that crosses your mind if you're a pro player and somebody like even remotely suggests that they should nerf the prism, which if you're a Protoss player, you're gonna kind of lose your mind. So you got like the very level-headed showtime, even after what Smix did to him, or she tweeted to him, you
the wound that won't heal.
And collect it. But yeah, other than that, it's always like such a touchy subject. And also one thing to take in consideration is, why do you guys think everybody plays the weakest race in RTS? Like, I'm serious. Like, why do you think that is? I have a hypothesis.
Yeah. So they're not
You guys
responsible.
have any
So
opinion?
why does everyone play the weakest? Like everyone basically considers their race the weakest because the game is so hard, and it's your ego like covering up everything. It's like you pretend that what you're doing is harder than what your opponent's doing, and you rationalize it in all sorts of ways because you're protecting yourself, because it hurts that you're not as good as you feel you should be for your time and effort putting in, and you feel like you're the one doing that. Other players aren't doing that. They aren't smarter than you. They aren't better than you. It's this racial imbalance. You have nothing else to really blame within RTS because you're not on a team. There's almost zero RNG in the game.
Do you guys know how long I've waited for Dan to say that? Do you have any fucking idea?
15 years.
I've been asking Dan to say those words since we were 12 years old, and here we are.
Now, a little asterisk.
My God.
Karen is the hardest race.
Shut your face!
But anyway, like I agree with what you said, Dan, but I think that's only one part of it. The other part being, everybody loses in StarCraft. I don't care who you are. If you Serral, you still lose on ladder, even if it's like 5% of your games.
Debatable.
He lost to the Muslim, guys. I saw it. I saw the replay.
3%.
How many times?
Okay. But anyway,
ahead, Todd,
like
sorry.
everybody loses from time to time, and I think it's very easy to get in a state of mind where you think, well, I lost to this guy and he played like this. Why doesn't everybody do this? And then you start thinking like that. You're like, well, if everybody did this, then I would win a lot less. And then, you know, my race just sucks because I can't beat that. Because if everybody did this, then I wouldn't have any success. And I feel like a lot of players, maybe probably unconsciously, they like get into this state of mind. It's happened to me so many times. Like so many times, whether it was Warcraft 3 or Starcraft, when I was playing, I was like, well, if everybody did what this guy's doing, and it's not that hard to do, even though sometimes it was, I'd be like, well, I just wouldn't win any games. And I think that's like, that plays a big part in it. That's why so many people think they play the weakest race, because they only focus on the flaws and they see what beats them, and they know exactly what it would take to defeat them.
So two things. Todd brought up a great point. I want to address that in a second. But he also memed real quick, and it's one of my favorite stories. It's a very quick one in all of StarCraft. WCS Austin 2017, is it?
Yeah.
Smix, one of the most well-intentioned, beautiful souls, just the legs of WCS, guys, okay? Like, I don't need to say a whole lot here. She's the legs of WCS. She, Showtime had just lost, like, a heartbreaker, and Smix is, like, by the fountain after the event, or, like, after that day, the broadcast, and she's writing out the tweet. And she's trying to be encouraging, but she gets as far as "you lost," and then someone like startled her, and she accidentally hit send, and literally all she sent
doesn't
to
know.
What was that?
Yeah, no, like she sent it, but she actually didn't know that she sent it at first.
That's right.
Yeah.
So she sends to Showtime. It's like, at Showtime, "you lost." And the best part is Showtime comes like walking up like 10, 15 minutes later, because we're just dying. This is like 15 minutes of our just losing it. Showtime comes up, and Showtime is like the epitome of German. Just perfect posture, handsome devil, very successful, walks over. He's not crying or upset. He's just kind of walking over. We're like, "Showtime, did you get that tweet from Smix, and what did you think?" And he like looked at us. He's like, "Well, I just thought like that was kind of mean." Because Sue was like, "Oh my god," she wanted to delete it and send another one, but we were like, "No, you have to let that be. You have to just let that be." So that was our caster meme for a while. But I also like what Todd brought up too. I've had a pet theory on this for a long time. I grew up playing StarCraft with Artosis and Skew and Idra, and the list goes on. So basically, I was in the hyperbolic time chamber of salty StarCraft players giving me reasons for why they lost. So I'm a bit of an expert on this. I think StarCraft is also, and I think I'm wondering if you pulled a Quake player aside and asked them about this, there's probably a lot of this in there too. StarCraft is the game of accountability. It's one of the only 1v1 games there are, and it's so mechanical and it's so respected that when you lose, very often on some level you're basically asked like you were just beaten by somebody. Like you are faced with that reality. And a lot of people handle that in different ways. And a lot of people project when that happens. They're like, "No, I wasn't beaten. This game's broken in this case or in this way." One of my favorite examples of this is a legendary StarCraft player, Mondragon. One of the best StarCraft players we ever had. He was in StarCraft 2 for a little while, and he was quite good, but not what he was in Brood War. A German player, very good. Before every big tournament, he would make quite the to-do to kind of explain to everyone, like, "Hey, I have not been practicing that much. I'm doing studies in France, and I've been boating quite a bit. And then he'd go to somebody else and be like, no, I haven't played any StarCraft. I'm very rusty. My confidence is at an all-time low. I shouldn't do that well." Top 3, top 2, beats a Korean, like wins money, does incredibly fucking well. And it's because he would go into each tournament trying to tell people to not count on him and to not expect him to do well. And that was partly him telling people that because he didn't want to have the pressure of... Think of the guys that tell everyone that they trained all they have for that. And they're like, "This is me. This is everything I've got." And then they lose. That's a hard fucking reality. So there's a lot of people that do everything they can to never face that.
Yeah.
How did Todd find that tweet so fast, by the way? You're so good, Todd. You have this on your phone or something? It's amazing.
No. I googled Smix City, "you lost Showtime." It was like the third link.
Yeah.
That's good.
Amazing.
Sorry, Dan, go ahead.
No, that's the tweet. We'll put it on screen. All the comments are great too. All the pro gamers are like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, that is the tweet right there."
I didn't even know it was me.
You lost!
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was because of me.
Oh, Smix.
That's brutal. That is really brutal.
Yeah.
Try to imagine you got your phone and you get a notification like, "Oh, Smix tweeted me. That's rare." Open it up. It's just like, "You lost." You're like, Jesus Christ.
And it had to happen to Showtime as well.
Yeah,
right? Like,
and it's Showtime.
The nicest guy.
Yeah. He probably liked the tweet or some shit. It's just like... Oh, it was Todd that created the tweet. Actually, Sue says it later. She's
Let's
like,
all go ahead and favorite that so
Yeah.
Smix remember.
retweet it. Matt, if you don't mind, retweet that for me, actually. Let's just get that piece of history right out there. No, not that. That's Mana's tweet, but... Oh, actually, that's a retweet of the whole thing. Anyways, okay.
Yeah.
So I think we're... I don't know. This topic's funny because it's like, there's not going to be a conclusion. This comes up all the time. Protoss has always been hated for a while. It's just like, actually, since the beginning of time, it's just how it always is. But maybe this will reach somebody.
I think that the meme, the whining, it has gone over the top at this point. Like, people taking things away from Protoss as they do well and using every opportunity as possible to point it out. It's like, yes, Protoss are doing better than they used to do right now. And yeah, I don't know. Something that kind of annoyed me a little bit is when we announced the show and the topics today, everyone's like, 4 Protoss players. Ah, yeah, that's real. And I'm just sitting here like, pretty sure that all of us beat you with every race. But at the same time, we're commentators. Like, I actually commentate more Zerg versus Terran than I play Protoss in StarCraft 2 right now. Like, I commentate a hell of a lot of all the matchups. I want them to be balanced. I don't have some sort of crazy ego around my StarCraft 2 play right now. Yeah. That's for StarCraft 1. And, you know, like to think that it can't be talked about. I don't know. I found that very annoying though.
I mean, like, obviously I am a
very annoying.
Yeah, like obviously I'm a Protoss player, but if people really think that my opinion like is stronger because I play Protoss rather than, you know, the fact that I've been in the scene for 9 years and I've been commentated tournaments for 9 years, like, do people really think that I'd rather get plus 60 MMR than see StarCraft 2 in a great state? That's just, in my opinion, that's such a stupid
No, this
thing.
always comes up. The other part that's funny.
What about 100 MMR then?
Must be at 1200, and you know, then I'm close to 0.
There it is. No, that's actually always come up, and that's probably one of my favorite things to see. I'm like, oh, people are talking about the broadcast. That's great. And they're like, good broadcast. I just wish that it wasn't Maynard in control. Neither of them plays Zerg, so they don't even understand how that works or anything like that. And I like picture like looking over at Maynard and me, and we're just like, he's like, Maynard, how'd you feel about the broadcast? He's like, Terran, drop ships, siege tanks, and I'm like, well, photon cannons. That's all I can do. DTs. Oh my god. And it's like, how do we keep getting higher in this situation? Anyways, I apologize, guys. It's for Protoss. I tried to get a Terran and Zerg on here, but they're so fucking stupid. They didn't even pick Protoss as their main race.
Can't trust what they say anyways, right?
Jesus fucking Christ. Anyways, that's just us bitching. We're just old guys.
Can I just say something about this? Like, I do think and wish that there would be more good contacts between the way that they decide the balance and the pro gamers. Even though, like, you know, at times, like, we've talked about this amongst casters and like the game might end up being completely crazy. I do feel like maybe the way feedback is collected has not been always the most effective, whether it's about game balance or maps. I feel like the map system is like really random. You know, there's like a map making contest and there's like a tournament. I don't know exactly in details the whole process, but even the fact that there's like kind of like so much secrecy around it, or maybe there isn't, maybe I'm just not that informed, but
well, you don't hear much about it, is what you're saying,
Yeah, there would be like a lot of talk and chat between whoever decides what the balance is and whoever decides what the map is, and a lot of the pros, as many as possible, to really try to make everybody as happy as possible and get the best possible balance and the best possible maps.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
I have something that I just remembered I wanted to bring up about this, where, okay, so a lot of people, first off, I think that for these balance patches, they should be collecting data about what's actually happening in tournaments. And if, like, look at the frequency of strategies used. For instance, I went through 47 replays from WCS and we had 7 immortal pushes. Yeah, it must be imbalanced. 7 out of 47. Okay. But you know, use the data, but also people are like, you'll hear like Zerg's whining, for the pro gamer Zerg's whining for a very, very long time, saying like Protoss is imbalanced, Protoss is imbalanced. They're not winning anything for a year, right? And then they finally start winning, and the Zergs will be like, I told you, you see, they finally figured it out. Now, I used to actually say shit like that, and Noni called me out so hard one time and made me rethink the whole thing, where I'm like, see, I told you guys, I've been saying this forever. I don't even remember what it was about. And Noni looked at me, he's like, Dan, if you keep saying the same thing forever, it will eventually become true, okay? Like, you have to look at the actual results that are actually occurring, right? So I think that's important. And you can't just be like, see, we've been saying it forever. And then finally Protosses are doing well for a stretch of 3 months. And then we're like, see, we told you guys forever. Something should have been done already. It's like, no, now maybe something should be done.
Yeah, but it's very hard to look at data objectively as well, right? Because you need to take so many, like, you said tournaments, but what about ladder, Dan? And like you said,
ladder is so different, my friend.
You 7 wins out of 7 with the immortal push, then.
This fucking video, goddamn.
So Tooth is the best, man.
You're not even gonna answer me. How
Okay,
do you look at data objectively, like across all tournaments between WCS and GSL, for example? Like which one has more importance?
Well,
I think you just
like,
try to look at them as
better.
like I honestly feel like even just looking at data like that in general, it really doesn't mean that much, because even within the round of 32, you just have a lot of very unfair matchups. Like, does it really say anything about balance if Cyril beats Skillus? No, it doesn't. Like, and does it say anything about balance if Skillus beats I don't know, like a random Zerg or something? Like those guys are in the top 32, but they're still very far away from the top 8.
That's
I think it's
that
very
is
hard.
true, but if Skillus beats Cyril, then maybe that says something, right?
Yeah, but if it's a one-time thing, even that doesn't say that much.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean, I think that you can look at it and look at like for instance, Classic versus Sue last night. You can look at that and be like, ooh, this is hard. And it starts to give you some information about that. But like, if the Protoss players aren't using the builds, and it's like we're just pretending that this is completely broken, but it's 21 Stargate openers out of 47 games and 7 Immortal openers. It's like, well, it seems like reality might be different from what everyone's saying. And ladder is very, very different from tournaments as well. I think that balance, my view, and people can disagree with this and say that you should try to balance all levels of ladder. I find that to be bullshit, because
of course,
this game has basically an infinite skill cap. So you can always get better and beat whatever the hell you're having a hard time against until you get to the very top. So balance should be based off of top end tournament play. Ladder is different. People aren't putting in quite as much effort because you're grinding so many games. You can't put in as much. You're not maybe as completely aware. Also, there's barcodes going on and things like that. You don't have like a minute before the match starts to know who you're going to play in the race, and it's not like you planned out this awesome build use against this guy or something. You might not know who it is or what he's doing. It doesn't matter as much. So trying to balance for ladder play, trying to balance for lower leagues,
so ladder players
don't matter. Silly, huh?
Ladder players don't matter.
Tournaments are what you should balance around. That's what I'm trying to say here. It's like, the thing is, on the ladder, you can just like do a cannon rush every game. You can do it every game on the ladder and do very well. But you bring that to WCS, and you're only getting to the finals, and Cyril's going to beat you.
We great minds. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Damn it! I messed up your punchline. I apologize.
But do you feel like a good enough job is being done in regards of looking at data for like the balance, or does it feel like a little bit more isolated and more random, like the changes that they are having?
It definitely looks random for a lot of them. Like when the air upgrades got nerfed, I'm like, what? Where did we get that from? It's Rotti with his fucking telling me +1 Phoenixes beat Corruptors. It's
because they do
can't have it.
Well, this will be an ongoing conversation. The chat will be happy to hear. We've lined up 16 more Protoss guests to come on and kind of talk about this. So we'll really hammer it out. It'll be kind of an ongoing summer season.
Maybe something, Jeff, to touch on real quick is that a lot of people fire back at me and they're like, it's not the War Prism that's the problem, it's the Zealot. A lot of people seem to be unanimous about the fact that the real reason why Protoss is a bullshit A-move race is the Zealot. The Zealot is too strong, the Zealot's too overpowered, the Zealot is broken, and the Zealot makes every build a lot stronger. Guys, is there a problem with the Zealot?
The Zealot?
The Zealot.
Imagine for a second a 7-foot-tall, biologically engineered post-human in powered armor carrying a space-advanced nail gun, shooting projectiles at subsonic speeds, hitting both air and ground. Then take your mind and add drugs to it that quadruples their speed, makes them move faster, shoot faster, which doesn't make sense, by the way. Why would you shoot a gun faster if you're on drugs? Is the gun taking the drugs? Are you clicking it faster? Could you not just click it faster any fucking ways? Why do the drugs affect the gun? Imagine this guy, take the cost. You'd say, Jeff, it's got to cost twice what a Zealot does, because a Zealot fucking can only punch things up close with its psi blades that it generates out of its mind. No, it's half the cost. And you literally make them at the beginning of the game. Well, we're like, well, surely they fall off later in the game. They get better. They're the counter to the capital ship of the Protoss. And when I say capital ship, I mean literally a city flying above the planet. The Space Marine on drugs shoots everything it has into the sky And then the capital ship becomes a blimp. What do you mean a blimp, Jeff? I mean literally a fucking blimp. It has no attacks. It can every 6 minutes make another interceptor to get shot by a tier 1 space marine with a drug-induced gun. The Zealot? If you're bitching about a Zealot, I've got such terrible news for you. There's gravity on Earth, and it must be crushing your weak, puny ass. Get off the ground, stop whining, and play Terran. Fuck off, seriously, the Zealot. Insane.
All right, I guess there's.
This is what you get when you get 4 Protosses on the show.
What do you think about the Zealot? Charge, timings, War Prisms, Zealots, charge.
I think the point is probably that, like, if you get attacked, for example, on your 3rd base and the prism goes into your main base and then charge loss attack in 2 places, it's just really hard to kite. But, I mean...
What would you even do to the Zealot? Like, how do you fucking... What do you do?
People want to... Okay, so one thing that people have said is that they should remove the bonus damage of the charge.
Yeah.
Do it.
What should you do?
Do it. I feel like a weird like shadow guy that's like above this city of people. If you fucking nerf the Zealot, you're gonna see Adept play again for days. It's just gonna be Infinity Adepts, and that was actually the worst StarCraft I've ever seen in my life, by the way. Can you imagine a like flock of 60 women in like women Protoss in skirts, and they're like, huh! And they just project themselves forward, and then the whole game is that they just shadow on top of you, and then they click on top of you, and then it's just like a Phoenix battle. They're like, I think I win this fight. I'm not entirely sure. And if I'm not, on my Warp Prism, I'll warp in 9 more. And hopefully that'll tip it in my favor. And that was the game for like 4 months. It was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And they were like, wow, Adepts are good. Let's add Phoenix to it as well.
You know, I must say, like, I'm a pretty big Zealot user myself. And I do think Zealots are really good. And I do believe, I still am a very big fan of the Zealot, Stalker, Low Gas, Double Forge kind of gameplay against Terran. But I must say, I have really noticed that the upgrades nerf that were used a while ago, or that were implemented a while ago on the Forge, those really do hurt, man. Like, yeah, I still have a little upgrade advantage more often than not, but I don't have the crazy upgrade advantage anymore, and I feel like my timings in general hit a lot harder. So I honestly think that Blizzard did an all right job, and considering the fact that there aren't that many pros anymore that play pure Zealot, Stalker, low gas styles, right? It's a lot more about Colossus, a lot more about Immortals. We see a very fast PSI Storm at the highest level, but in general, we don't really see too much of the Zealot spam. But there's still a lot of people who generally believe that the Zealot is too good for what it costs, and I guess how easy it is to control. I guess one problem that people have with Zealots is that you can fly in a Warp Prism, you can warp in 6 Zealots, and you can look away, and those Zealots will go freaking ham. Like, they'll be very good. Yeah, that's what people complain about.
Yeah, that is what they do. I mean, the Warp Prism is generally the center of complaints, right? It's not really just the Immortal. It's that you can save it with the Warp Prism. It's not really the Zealot. It's that they can all appear in your base suddenly. Like, yeah. The thing is, I'm down for whatever changes happen, right? Like, I think that there are a lot of different changes that could be made that could be really interesting. Like, I mean...
I'm okay with nerfs.
The whole
bring in the nerfs,
mechanic people get frustrated with, but I don't know. I have ideas about things that could be fun, but I don't know.
I honestly believe the Warp Prism creates a lot more problems than the Zealot. And I also believe that one of the reasons why people complain about the Zealot in the first place is because of the Warp Prism. There aren't that many people that are like, well, somebody sits at home and makes a bunch of Zealots. Oh my God, I can't kill them, because I may hope that if you are smart enough to whine about the Zealot, that you also know how to kill a Zealot. It's more about the Warp Prism and the Zealot. And I feel like almost everything that people hate about Protoss goes back to the Warp Prism.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Let me just throw this idea out there. I don't know.
But yeah, go ahead.
I never, because it is, I agree with Rotti. Like, the Warp Prism is kind of the thing that you just, it fucks people up. But, like, you know, the shuttle in Brood War? What if we just had like 100 minerals speed shuttle instead of that?
I don't know. I've never made a shuttle.
Well, it's just a transport. That's it. Just give me a speed shuttle for 100 minerals, man. It'll be a very interesting game then, I think.
This conversation was like, yeah, and then the pro was like, whoa.
Like a lot of people, on Reddit are like, you know what, the War Prism should cost like 50 gas. Now, I really don't believe that a 50 gas War Prism is going to change anything. Like, I don't believe that.
As soon as people want to move shit by 50 and 25 gas, I'm just like, oh, I gotta get out of here.
I'm like, you know, we write about certain builds for days and they're like, you know, 150 minerals, but 50 gas. And I'm like, that's really like,
that did it. That changes
like
things.
That doesn't change anything.
No, so I believe you're gonna have to do a little more than that.
But to be fair, Dan, what you suggest, like, it's also going down a very dangerous rabbit hole if you want to have the Brood War shuttle. Like right now, there is a guy that's watching this show that just went, I told them they need to bring back vultures so I can play Terran versus Protoss with them. Like, so, and then there's just like, it goes crazy and out of control with this. So at the end of the day, it's just super hard to balance this freaking game. So
it is.
Yeah, it is
the hardest job to do.
And I'm glad they're still giving attention.
It's so close to balanced. It is so close. It's these little things that people are really frustrated with. And yeah, the game is frustrating as hell, but it's like so much better balanced than almost every RTS.
Beautiful
out there,
game.
guys, just so you know.
I don't think I shouldn't be able to be in trouble for this, but I will say that there is the beginnings of a balance patch being worked on this, and they're talking to pro gamers, they're talking to people. So if you're worried that nothing is changing, you're wrong. Something is coming. I don't know. Obviously, even if I did know, I wouldn't tell you when. But just know they're talking to pro gamers. They're going to ask them, and it's going to get worked on. I do hope it's elegant. We've had really good balance patches, I thought. Says the Protoss player. I know. I've actually just been enjoying StarCraft, but I do agree with Kevin. I do not like the state of PvZ right now. And wow, that's amazing. As a Protoss player, you said? Yeah, the game's not good. When I commentate a tournament, the PvZ comes up, unless it's like Serral versus some other legendary player, I'm just not looking forward to it that much. It's just kind of silly.
Yeah.
And to be honest, as a fan of the GSL, I haven't enjoyed those games almost at all. It's just, PvP is, like, let's not even talk about, I mean, it is the stupidest matchup in the game right now in Korea.
Dumbest thing I've ever seen right now.
When those proxies are just next to each other, I want to like vomit on my keyboard. Just throw up all over. Be like, look what you've done. And I don't know how that gets fixed, but Protoss nerfs incoming for sure. But I do hope that they listen to the pro gamers about late game PvZ, because if you completely neuter Protoss aggression early to mid, then it's just going to be bad in the other way, where it's like that Scarlet 6 weeks where she just literally made spine crawlers and then tech to Greater Spire, and then here came the Broodlords. And people were like in the chat like, beautiful play. This is so good. Beautiful play. Like, oh my god. Ugh. Anyways.
That's very good to hear, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's awesome. We're lucky to be StarCraft fans. There's great maps coming out, good content. That Stetman commander. Ugh, I've been having so much fun with that.
I've got him on Spotify, mate. I'm a big fan.
I don't want Spotify. All right, let's move on to the next topic here. Which one do we have, Mr. Cobra? Cannot see. I
think it was if you have pocket nines under the gun and he re-raises you 3 big blinds. What do you do?
How do you know these terms? Oh my god, I didn't know.
He follows your Twitter, Todd. He reads your Twitter. We're not there yet. We'll come up on the poker one. We got 2 things to talk about. One's pretty. Yeah, they're both Todd centric, but we did have WCS Challenger kickoff. We're going back to Kiev in a few weeks here. Non-stop WCS action. There were some pretty funny results. We talked a little bit about this. Kevin, you want to talk about the EU side of things?
Actually, it would be better for me to talk about the. I mean, I did watch quite a bit of EU, but it would be better for me to talk about the NA side of things.
Go for it.
A, I casted quite a bit of that, and B, since I'm in California, the European qualifiers were at a pretty atrocious time. But I can open it up. I know I already said a lot of European Protosses did do very well, and obviously people would be like, well, of course it's Protoss, but yeah, 7 out of the 8 players that were already qualified were not Protoss, and those are 7 of the 8 best European players out there. Serral, Raynor, Uthermal, you know it. So we can open it real quick. Give me 1 second. I know that Hellraiser qualified in DNS, and Arston got close, but he did not make it. So through the open qualifiers, we had actually 6 Protosses qualify. Mana made it, Drogo made it in the very end, Strange made it, and also Hero Marine and Bly, and Gong Fu Panda.
What's Strange's AKA?
On the ladder?
Yeah.
He's a barcode.
He's the Russian Protoss, right?
Yeah, but he's not Verdi. He's not Verdi or real.
Yeah, that's
Strange,
real.
Yeah, Strange is a different Russian Protoss. He was around for a long time a while ago. He was actually really good at one point. He played for PSI Storm Gaming. Talking about PSI Storm Gaming, they've got an event coming up.
Look at those guys. Do they have an event coming up, Kevin?
They've got an event coming. You can win a Lamborghini.
You can win a Lamborghini at that event? That's amazing.
Yes, but
Nice.
anyway, we'll go back to the. So Strange is really good. He's a bit feisty on the ladder. He doesn't really like to be chatted with, much like Verdi or but
A Russian
yeah,
player that's feisty? Huh.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But yeah, a lot of Protoss is basically making it through. DNS, Gong Fu, Hellraiser, Mana, Drogo, Strange, and Hero Marine and Bly. But like I said, it's important to mention that already qualified were, okay, Showtime, but then Uthermo, Clem, Marine Lord, Elazer, Serral, Lambo, and Raynor. So that's EU Challenger.
A lot of usual suspects, but that EU scene is so brutal. So we'll be seeing that in Challenger. So it's nice seeing some of these new names, see if they can make a name for themselves. A lot of the, I mean, you got Uthermal, Showtime, like the names, right? So
yeah.
We are going to be commentating that this weekend. It'll be myself, Mr. RotterdaM, and Nathanius, who we had in the chat there. Yeah, it'll be a good commentary weekend. On the NA side, we had some, I would say this is funny results. This is pretty interesting. Yeah. So you got your usuals. You got Neeb, Massa, Jon Snow, and TLO. Well, that sounds weird to say usual, but TLO's, he married a Canadian woman, so he's now a North American guy. And then in qualified, we also have Future, Vindictus, Scarlet, and Silky. Silky crushing the ladder again. You might have heard, you might remember his name as the guy that beat Neeb in one of the challenges. Pretty amazing. Vindicta famous for his game against Avilo 6 years ago. Since then, he's been a pretty good Terran. And then we also have Estrella and Puck, which kind of just keep collecting their WCS checks, getting sent off to a foreign country, and then getting ever-living smashed, as is the North American way. But then we had a whole bunch of Terrans qualify.
Yeah, on a side note, Protoss is really doing bad in this.
On the NA side, not as good, but
it's
up with that? Their best players, like Neeb, Estrella, Puck. Those are like 3 of the top 5. They're going to do well. We have Crucial Nug, which is
such a great idea.
The kind of name you expect at like a pickup basketball game for your local university, but here he is. Cuddle Bear, who we've seen in Challenger before. Drunken Boy.
Back from the dead.
That's a guy, I would say, is very similar to Massa in that like he probably has always played StarCraft, but never is seen. Like a shadow StarCraft player, but he used to be very good in the North American scene, but here he is back again. Pure Legacy. God, where have I heard that name? And then Sotorx. That guy is the proud owner of like 400 of my ladder points, which is always... it's really frustrating because I'm like a mid-level GM North American guy. And these guys that qualify, I play all the time. I'm like, get the fuck out of my... Get up there! Go play other people. Like, let me... anyways.
You know, the most bizarre thing is that the second qualifier has not ended yet. For some reason, I think it ran too long yesterday. I don't know exactly what it was. At one point, I was like, you know, guys, I'm going to move out. So I casted quite a bit, and I kept refreshing Wikipedia. I'm like, man, Wikipedia is slow. And they just never updated it because it's not done yet.
Yeah, they had a
and I must say, the remaining players in that bracket, that's quite the remaining games up and coming as well. Actually, I guess they're already starting right now. I guess they might be on the way. But yeah, a lot of Terrans. I must say, like, I know all these guys quite well. Except Crucial Knock. Like, I don't know what his ladder account is. Like, but yeah, I mean, he actually qualified through the upper bracket as well, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
He beat Semper, and he also 2-0'd M. Canning, so he's clearly very good. But yeah, Crucial Knock, a little bit of a mystery for me. The other guys, I mean, these are kind of the better North American players. If you don't take, you know, if obviously the Latin American scene is separated.
Oh, it ended. Semper took the final one.
Semper took the final one? Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's another Terran. And another guy, yeah. I mean...
another guy what? Say it, Kev.
Well, that hasn't played that much lately. Kind of like Drunken Boy, I wanted to say, but just came back again. I think Semper finished up his studies, or is almost done. Obviously, Semper was a real beast quite some time ago, but yeah, well, Terran Glory in WCS.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say another guy that tweeted at me when I made that one.
No.
Semper's
is a sweetheart.
He's a good guy, yeah.
Semper is a real sweetheart.
He just like graduated law school in Canada, which is like pretty impressive that he's also qualifying for Challenger. Anyways, that will be going on this coming weekend, Saturday and Sunday. It'll be really fun. Do we want to show the clips, Matt? Do we have that ready to go? Because there's some pretty funny clips. That was something else we're going to do. And then we're going to talk about Warcraft 3 Remastered real quick. Just to kind of get Todd's words. Everyone wants to know, Todd, if you're going to go back to being a full-time professional Warcraft 3 Remastered player. But you're going to have to wait for his answer after these clips.
First off, we have notable happening between Jon Snow and our very own Jeff Robinson, noted by RotterdaM here.
John, you're still in the chat, right, bud? This is my favorite clip right here. This is, I think, a shoe-in to win this week for best clip of the bunch.
Jon Snow lost 3 games. He lost against Epic. He lost against... What? That's amazing. Oh my god, and it's a 33-minute game as well. Let's fucking go, Jeff.
Jon Snow wanted me to make a comment real quick. It was a super back and forth epic game. He gave everything he could, but in the end, it just wasn't enough. So,
I love his comment. The sun was going through my window. I could barely see. Also, I just ate, so I was tired. There was a piece of fuzz on my mouse sensor, I think. And cannons are better than drones.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's the wrong answer.
Oh,
There's so many reasons.
It's amazing as well. The best thing about that entire tweet is like it ended right before I went over the work account, and I always said this before the show. Jeff's graphic goes like, and then Jon Snow, it's just like a never-ending game of catch-up. You can see like something dirty happened in the beginning of the game.
oh yeah.
Jon Snow was roughly 17 workers behind a couple minutes into the game, guys. It somehow made it into minute 33, but I just started laughing so hard. I was like, yes, what a beautiful in-control game right here and there.
It was a great game. Super
How many
good.
points did you get for that, Jeff?
48 points.
48?
48 points.
Oh, poor Jon Snow.
Next up, we have Lycan, who runs AFKT, one of our sponsors,
You guys
showing
seen
us how to eat Oreos. This is not recommended.
Everyone loves an Oreo, one of America's best cookies.
Have you guys seen
There are
this?
many schools of thought
No.
on how you
Yes.
eat an Oreo. You just dunk it in milk. Maybe you'll spread it apart, eat one side, eat the other side, lick the cream, dip it back in milk. Regardless, the one consistent thing is you have to have milk. There is nothing on a hot day like some rice bowl, cookies and milk. But when you're eating the cookies, you have to remember, you need to balance the diet out. Helps to add a little protein.
Oh my god.
What is that? The chicken?
Delicious.
It's like, yeah, I think it's either chicken or...
Just because you have to balance the diet doesn't mean you can't have a little bit of fun.
That could have gone really poorly.
Oh, Jesus. Why would you do that?
How much does that cost to fill that up with milk?
It's like 3 tea orders at least, yeah.
Yeah.
With that, I think we can safely say that Lycan's currently one up over Rifkin in the Great Food War of Starcraft.
They're going back and forth with this, like, who can eat food weirder thing.
And our last clip is a notable event from Base Trade TV, where Rifkin starts to troll a little bit.
Printf also wants the Artosis title, you know.
Why? What's the Artosis title?
Pylon. The Artosis Pylon.
What's that?
In Control got that title. You don't know what the Artosis Pylon is?
I know what the In Control Pylon is. What's the Artosis Pylon?
That's the Artosis Pylon.
No, that doesn't sound like that's a real thing. That's definitely a pylon that's in control of all the buildings, so it's the
It's
In
my
Control
boy.
Pylon.
Yeah. No, it's the Artosis Pylon because it...
I've never heard that phrase before. That makes no sense. What does it have to do with Artosis?
What? It's okay. So Artosis, I guess, in an original game way back in the day, I don't know what the original clip was, but I guess originally it was Artosis that had the quote-unquote in control pylon, and apparently he was trying.
Yeah, the in
to
control
pin it
pylon,
off.
exactly.
He was trying to pin it off on in control, saying it was him because it was. I don't know. I've heard 2 different variations of this, but I've always known it as the Artosis pylon.
I don't know what an Artosis pylon is, so I guess
In
agree to
control
disagree.
pylon.
Yeah, exactly. In control pylon. We're saying
Who
the
is
same
this?
thing. Why are you calling it something
Who's
else?
guessing with him?
The in control pylon is
Bexy,
the
I
Artosis
believe.
pylon.
The in control pylon, as you just identified it.
The Artosis Pylon because you know it has the in control
Spectacular.
Pylon. I know it
But
has
isn't
the
This is a case of
Right
commentary
side of
saving
the
an
base where it's
otherwise
got
atrocious
tasteless
game.
next
Do you
to
guys
it
see
to
what's
back it up?
happening in the game?
Oh god.
It's 50 supply versus 100, and
I mean, you
Suppy
can't
just
have
won't
Artosis
attack. He's
without
like,
pieces,
no.
so that is true.
Printf had actually a really good run in the first day of the open bracket qualifier, but he lost in the final round of WCS open bracket qualifier and won. But then he forfeited his lower bracket match because he would have to wait like 3.5 hours, and he lost that match at like 9 p.m. Over here, or 8 p.m. So it's already like 11 p.m. on the East Coast. And by the time that he would finally play that match, it would be like 1 or 2 a.m. And he's like, I don't want to wait. But that's obviously kind of sad, right? He's one match away from qualifying for WCS, and he forfeited.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for those clips. Thank you to those of you that submitted them. That's always a fun thing, and Cobra for walking us through that. I think this topic, Warcraft 3 Revival, I think I mean, it's just like we have Todd and we have Kevin, so we're just going to kind of ask you guys real quick, and then we'll get to the round table, and then we'll finish off the show. But just to kind of put you guys on the show and be like, hey, this thing's coming up. What do you guys think about it? I've been seeing Kevin playing a little bit. Todd was playing some before he decided it was completely broken and imbalanced and then left the game entirely. But Todd, are you playing? I mean, you also had your event at Homestory, or you did the Iron Couch or whatever, right? So what do you guys think about Warcraft 3 coming up? Are you excited? Do you plan on playing some?
Yeah, obviously, you know, I'm still streaming whenever I'm not here playing cards, so I'm pretty hyped. I got a chance to play a little bit of it actually after BlizzCon. But it wasn't that many units yet that were remastered, but it was very interesting. Like, they have some big challenges ahead, like the scaling in particular. I think like there's just like some units that were just way too big, some other way too small and stuff. But it was fun, so yeah, I'm pretty hyped around it. I do hope that they're gonna focus a lot around the balance of the game, though, because yeah, like, as you said, right now it's not necessarily the most optimal. Like in every single matchup now, I see a very clear route to what could beat me, and it happens every single game as well against players that I was beating in the previous patches. So there was a patch actually that got released just after I left to America. So like already they're doing more and more patches, which is really nice. But yeah, like very hyped for this. Warcraft 3 is like very niche, you know, it's kind of like Brood War. But I feel like around the release of Remastered, there's probably going to be, you know, obviously a peak in people that are going to start playing it or find some interest in it. So it's going to be interesting to see how many of those players kind of like, you know, stay and are retained within the scene. And yeah, it's one of the best games of all time. Actually, the best game of all time alongside Starcraft. So pretty excited for it.
Kevin, you were dabbling a little bit, but we haven't seen it in a while. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I'm honestly very excited for it as well. One thing I think in particular that we didn't have in the old days, obviously, when I played a crazy amount of Warcraft 3, was Twitch, was streaming. Warcraft 3 team games are way better than StarCraft 2 team games. I'm not saying that 1v1 Warcraft is better than StarCraft 2, because, you know, to each their own, everyone has their own flavor. I think they're both fantastic games. But team games are really, really fun in Warcraft 3. And I don't like team games, guys. I'm not a team game guy, but I'm actually very excited to be playing like 2v2 random team, 2v2 arranged team. It's going to bring back, A, a lot of fantastic memories. B, it's going to make for just great streaming overall. I think the game is very fun at the moment. I'm obviously not playing super high level like Todd, so if I lose, I just kind of assume that's because I'm a donkey, which is probably quite close to the truth. But I honestly, there's not much else to say. I really enjoyed the weekend, the Iron Couch. It was kind of like a coming back party for me, right? I must say, you have to get used to it a little bit again, though, Jeff, because even like a short Warcraft 3 game feels like a pretty long StarCraft 2 game. The pacing is just very different, right? And some people say, like, there's a lot more action. But at one point, sometimes I'm casting a fight that goes on for 3.5 or 4 minutes. I mean, Tasteless would blow his lungs out. But it's like the outcome of the fight is kind of already settled in the beginning, unless something very weird happens. But it's still kind of just like a nice little tug of war back and forth. So you have to get used to it. You have to appreciate it for what it is. But I honestly think it's going to be very fun. I have no idea when it actually comes out. I personally hope it doesn't come out before BlizzCon, because basically up to BlizzCon, I really, for my own sake, I just want to focus 110% on StarCraft 2. And also, I don't want my attention to be divided. You know, I don't want to get excited over something that is not Serral winning another World Championship, because that's what I'm really excited for. But yeah, hopefully around December, we can all play some Warcraft 3. And I think everyone should at least give it a shot, because like Todd said, it is without a doubt one of the very best games ever made. And I honestly believe that it has a lot of potential to not just peak in the first week or the second week, but to stick around because it's a very fun game, even if you're not a fantastic RTS player.
Yeah, pretty sure it's going to be the end of the year, by the way. Like it.
You think so?
They have so much work to do. Even end of the year is probably like very challenging. Like I got a glimpse of like, you know, how many designs and stuff they have to do, or like kind of like the work that they have to do at the thing after BlizzCon, and it's just so much work that I highly doubt it's going to be midway through the year, like, or sometime soon. Like the beta, actually, I thought by now would already be out. So I just think that they have a lot of work. So it's definitely going to be the end of the year.
I'm excited.
Do you guys think that the Warcraft 3 remastered is going to cannibalize any StarCraft 2 players or viewers?
I'm not too worried about that. I really am not. Because first of all, there is one thing that I've hated in the past when I stream sometimes Warcraft 3. There's like a bunch of Warcraft 3 fans come in and they're like, "Hey, you're finally back at the great game. Fuck StarCraft, am I right?" And I'm just like, this is so stupid, guys. Like, I said this before as well, and I said this a couple of times. I honestly think it's so stupid to even think of a rivalry between StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3 and like, what's the better game? Who cares? Like, enjoy one of them, or preferably enjoy both of them.
Yeah.
But there are so many other games out there with massive scenes. You know, you've got the Fortnites, the Leagues, the Dotas, the Counter-Strikes. The last thing in the world that RTS fans should do is like fight with each other over which RTS is better. It's incredibly stupid, and I truly hope that our community is smart enough to not do that too much. And I think, if anything, there will be a lot of StarCraft 2 fans that have maybe never played Warcraft 3 in the past that will start enjoying Warcraft. I believe there's going to be very few people out there that's like, I'm obsessed with StarCraft 2 right now. Warcraft 3 comes out. Oh my God, I never knew this was out there. I love this so much more than StarCraft 2. I don't care anymore. The games are too different for that. They're way too different. And I think if you're once a StarCraft 2 lover, you will never just stop loving StarCraft 2, because Warcraft 3, it's an RTS, but that's pretty much the only things that these two games have in common.
I'm excited.
Warcraft 3 is like similar to Brood War in that it's pretty niche. I feel like a lot of Brood War players, it's like their main game. They play that, and they probably, if they play any other game, it's probably like, very recreational, not nearly as serious. And in Warcraft 3 is like kind of the same thing. I feel like there's not going to be too many players that play Brood War a lot and StarCraft 2 a lot, StarCraft 2 a lot and Warcraft 3 a lot. Like, it's just kind of different communities. Maybe there's going to be players that play one game a lot, that watch it, and then they watch the other also a little bit. But every game is going to have its elitists, right? Like, it's been the same also with Brood War and StarCraft 2. There's always going to be these people that come and are like, no, that this is better. You should be watching this.
It'll happen, but whatever.
Yeah, not much we can do about this, I'm very interested personally in the hype surrounding the game, because I just heard so much about it after the announcement at BlizzCon. Like, so many people were talking about it. Like, if, Warcraft 3 was going to be the next League of Legends or something. And I was like, whoa, like, wait a second. Like, I don't know that it's going to become like, one of the biggest esports out there just because the game is being remastered. I do think there's going to be more players, and I'm excited for it, but it always gets blown out of proportion. So I feel like there's definitely going to be that wave of people, that like, we're at the point in esports where anytime a new game comes out, there's always going to be those people that try to get involved as much as possible with it so they can establish themselves in the scene, whether it's as a pro gamer or a caster or whatever.
Okay.
So we'll have to see how many of those stay within the scene. That's really the important thing for me, and I hope it's going to be
Todd, I have a question for you. Would you say the pro scene, let's say you dream of becoming a professional player or at least breaking into the pro scene, would you say that's a lot more doable in Warcraft 3 than it is in StarCraft 2?
I don't know. I never thought of that. Very difficult question. I feel like we have a Finnish player that lives in Europe that's winning on a game currently on StarCraft 2 where Koreans have dominated since the dawn of time. And he's doing super well. He won the global finals, and he just wins a lot of games against them. So I think anything's possible. Obviously, it's like an isolated case. But I feel like if some players, when Warcraft 3 Remastered comes out, they're like, I want to be one of the best at this. I really love this game. And they play like a lot, train really hard. They have a good mindset about it. I do think they could become some of the world's best players. But I don't think it would be fast. It wouldn't be like, in 6 months. It would take at least, I don't know, over a year, maybe 2 years or something, if that were to happen. Like for Cyril, he was around for a long time and he wasn't always like the beast that he is now, but eventually he got there. So I think for Warcraft 3, Yeah, I don't know currently actually in stock. I feel like for both games it's pretty hard. Like all of the new blood that we see in Europe or NA, these guys have been around for a long time. They've trained their asses off to get there. And now finally we're discovering about, the guys like Future, Skillers, Goblin.
Yeah.
Like these guys haven't been playing for 2 months. They didn't
Yeah.
come out of the shadows and like not do much.
Very
So
cool.
I think both. I don't know. I can't pick.
I'll dabble and stuff, and just my growing up, there was always Warcraft 3 at like the WCG events and stuff like that. It was really fun, so I'm looking forward to it. Just more RTS. And before we move on, Dan, as a guy that's just so incredibly desperate for an RTS that you subjected yourself to tooth and tail at extended periods of time, I kind of want to know, like,
It's a great game,
with
Jeff.
Warcraft
You
3,
never played.
It's just mice.
Dan,
So much more. There's birds. There's snakes.
I've never
Guys,
copulated with a
you know.
lion, but I just wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like I know enough about the situation to say it probably is not worth my time. But with Warcraft 3 coming out, are you going to play some? I mean, I guess the burning question is, how hard do you jump ship from Starcraft 2 and Brood War to Warcraft 3 to cash in? I guess that's kind of the big question that people want to know.
Although do a Warcraft 3 cash in, I don't know if that exists, but no, I'll probably. I'm planning on playing it. I pre-ordered it somewhat recently, so I might even play a little bit of Warcraft 3 before it comes out, because I haven't played that game for a million years, and I haven't watched it forever as well. Like, I kind of keep track of the names that are winning and stuff, just because I don't know why. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna play a little bit.
That's what I heard.
I honestly think, guys, like, we're gonna have fun. Like, if we organize some nights where we play 2v2, 3v3, I can say this, like, I'm 100% convinced that we'll all have a lot more fun in team games in Warcraft 3 than we do have in Starcraft 2. Like, Starcraft 2 is the best 1v1 game out there, in my opinion. It's the purest. It's the one with the highest skill ceiling. But 2v2 and 3v3 can actually be so much fun in Warcraft 3. And this comes from a guy who just never plays any other games, who never plays team games, who doesn't like any of that stuff. I think we're going to have such a good time, like, playing games all together in Warcraft 3. I think it will be something to get very excited over. And I'm sure, like, one thing I do believe in is that there's a lot of people, right, who watch StarCraft, and they say they love watching it, but they don't play it because it's too hard. I believe StarCraft 2 is an unpleasant game until you at least get a little bit of a grasp of what you're doing, and you can start having battles, right? You can start having a little back and forth. Like, I think once you play against evenly matched players, it's amazing. But if you're brand new to StarCraft 2, it's often like you start and you die, you start and you die. I think Warcraft 3 is a little more welcoming in a way where it's like, herpy derp, I've got a hero, oh, I slayed a creep, I got a gold kill, I got a chest, I got an item, and you level up. I think there is more little rewards for brand new players that are not good at RTS in Warcraft 3 than there is for StarCraft 2. Like, StarCraft 2, you just get smacked in the face all the time. And I think Warcraft 3 is more like you're doing great, happy colors, this, that, So I think in that way, there's a lot of people who will at least give it a shot and also probably stick around for a little bit. So I honestly think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a really, really fun, fun period, and I hope it will stick around.
And also there's the potential for some esports prophecies to come through. We've got the best casting duo in StarCraft with Tastosis. Imagine you had Monte Cristo to that. Tasto Cristo for the Triocast in the finals at the Global Finals.
Damn. Yeah. Let's
Directed by Grubby, guys. And
Monte Cristo. Yep. I can already feel it in my loins. So yeah, that's exciting and fun. Next topic before we get to the tournament wrap-up and Q&A real quick is the Todd topic, basically. So poker and StarCraft. There's a lot of back and forth similarities. We've got Elky, Rec Rule back in the day. Guillaume is a guy that spent some time with poker as well. And now we have Todd.
Sorry.
I guess the kind of topic opener, but really you can take it anywhere you want. Is it safe to say, and what is it about this, if it's remotely correct? Why is it that for you as a strategy player and a big StarCraft guy, but also Warcraft, what is it about poker that kind of gets you excited in the same way, if at all? Do you think there's similarities?
Yeah, for sure. It's like a game of incomplete information, which involves a lot of strategy, and then you need to learn from every mistake. There is so many potential scenarios. So I think it kind of relates in that. Like, actually, it's crazy. Since I've been here, I've met so many people that like used to be StarCraft player, like whether it was like random people at the tables or like some really like top level high rollers also of the poker scene. Like some people that have won, millions. There were Warcraft 3, StarCraft 2 players. It's crazy the amount of these guys that I met. Actually, I don't know if you guys know him. Do you know Gosu STX?
STX?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an NA player, wasn't he?
Familiar,
yeah, this guy is like playing at the Aria. Like I've seen him a bunch of times. He's playing 5-10, so like $1,000, buying on the table. And a lot of the German high rollers and stuff, they're ex Warcraft 3 players. Like like I said, like some guy called Dominic Nietzsche. He's got 4 bracelet. Same thing. Used to be a Warcraft 3 guy. So I feel like there is a lot of correlation around that, and the transition is not like really difficult if you want to play, or like even like if you want to do both. Boxer actually too.
Oh yeah, he's full time.
He's playing a bunch of tournaments like in Taiwan and stuff. He's got sponsorships. So
Slog just won a big tournament too, didn't he?
Yeah. Slog actually has been playing for a while too. Yeah, but it's good to see him do well. Yeah, I think like in regards to that, Rotti, I'm sure we can talk about it too, because he had his Dijon days when he lived in playing at Commerce Casino, right?
Yeah, no, I still enjoy it. And it's like Todd says, it's actually a super cool experience when you just kind of feel like, oh, okay, now I'm going to play some cards. And you sit down, and there is a guy, like I had this in LA, where I sit down, and the guy next to me looks at me, and I was like, oh, he's doing the poker thing, he's checking me out. I was like, mate, like, relax, we're playing for $250. He looks at me, he's like, shouldn't you be streaming tonight? And I was like, oh, okay, that's really cool. When you have little interactions with that. Sometimes the poker dealer is like, hey, he's like, you're that Protoss player, right? I'm like, yeah, that's me. He's like, oh, nice to meet you. So it is definitely scenes that kind of go with each other. I don't know if I really want to make like, there's a lot of poker players who say like anybody that was like good at StarCraft will always be good at poker. I don't know if you can go that far, but I can obviously see, the relation to it. And other than that, I mean, I love the game as well, and I love. I love the scene. I find it a fun game to play as well. But other than that, I don't have too much to add.
Yeah, I think like StarCraft and poker, they're both games in which you need to be very hardworking and diligent with your practice in order to get like at a higher level where you can do very well. I guess the easier thing about StarCraft is that if you tilt, all you'll lose is like 200 points MMR. In poker, if you tilt, it's going to be a lot more devastating than that, and you'll lose a percentage of your bankroll. So you need to be more careful in regards to that. I had dinner with Willemins last night. Yeah, he's been playing for a while, and he was here to play like one of the same tournament that I played, the Big 50, which was a $500 tournament of WSOP with over $5 million total in prize, in which 28,000 people played, which is insane.
Yeah,
he was here playing that. Actually, I shared a screenshot to Matt. Maybe you can show it. It's pretty funny.
What would be the poker equivalent of cannon rushing but forgetting your forge?
Going all in with a really bad hand on a short stack.
Yeah.
But if you look at the stream right now, it shows the screenshot. Like he sent me a message yesterday. He was playing in a deep stack tournament. Deep stack is like when you play with a big blind, like 200 big blinds, for example, in a tournament instead of a short stack. And he told me like, nice man, I struggle with deep stack cash. Ironically, on my StarCraft 2 skills so it just made me laugh, because then I was like, yeah, you can't cannon rush them in poker, because he was a cannon rush guy after all. But yeah, like just an incredible amount of StarCraft people I got to meet here. There is a guy, I don't know if you guys watched that a while back. There was the tournament in Bahamas by PokerStars, PSPC. And the guy that finished second is French. His name is Julien Martini. He won 3 million. He was a gamer, so I know him a little bit. And I went to have food with him here. He was masters in StarCraft, that guy. And it didn't surprise me. Like so many of them. Also like one of the French, like the #1 YouTuber for poker in France, who's also like a guy who plays a lot of expensive tournaments. He's playing the 10K heads up today. That guy played WCG Dawn of Warhammer before, and he almost qualified for the finals. So like everywhere I go, it seems like everybody's a gamer, almost like in the young generation of like poker players everywhere.
I like that. It's gonna sound like trolling, but I really don't mean it that way. But you kind of brought up tilting, and I think that's interesting. Just asking for your personal journey with this, like in StarCraft, it's kind of well known. You're an emotional player. You're very good, but could sometimes get tilted a little bit. The same thing exists in poker. How are you finding? Are you able to handle that better? Are you working on it? Like, what's that like in poker versus StarCraft? I guess.
I used to play a long time ago poker, and then recently when I started playing again, like I'm playing a lot of tables. So sometimes I'm 16 tabling at home, and when you're 16 tabling for like 8 hours. I want to be able to say that you've seen it all.
Yeah.
Like I've had my aces cracked 15 times in a row. So once that happened to you, you just feel nothing anymore.
Nice.
It's pretty much how it is. So that's why actually it's the same thing as in StarCraft. a lot of pros that are on stage, we always talk about how, you know, like they don't show any emotion after they won, blah, 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 and stuff. That's why. That's because they need to detach themselves emotionally so much that they just basically play their best and think of nothing else. And even after they've won something, it doesn't even hit them. They're on stage, they're getting the trophy, Smix is there, but it's not hitting them yet, I feel. It will later. It is kind of the same, I think, in poker. Like a lot of players, like if you want to be successful, you need to be detached emotionally. Like when you win a hand, you can't stand up and scream and be like super happy, because then that means that a lot of the time when you lose a hand, you're going to start, you know, sighing and like being really angry and playing worse. You can't let that happen. Rotti, you have that experience too, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm thinking back, right? A couple months ago, I went to Romania for a couple of days where I played multiple poker tournaments in a row. And it was a really fun time. But I'm comparing that to my StarCraft 2 emotions. And I must say, in my eyes, at least, StarCraft 2 is a little more rewarding. I can get a lot of, how do you say that, satisfaction as well out of a 35-minute game that I lose. If I thought it was a really fun game with epic battles back and forth, I can find some satisfaction there. But in Romania, I did the main event. So basically, the first day I played like 7 hours, and the second day we would play until everybody would finish in the money. And like 52 people had to survive or something that second day. And when there were 54 people left, I went all in with pocket tens, and I thought it was, you know, the right play. And I maybe didn't have to do it, but some guy who was actually a Dota 2 professional, to go back to the link of where he used to be a Dota 2 professional. He's like, yeah, we were in the same tournament in WSG in China. He calls me and I lose. And I must say, like, that feeling really sucks. Like, I don't find any happiness out of playing poker for 12 hours, 14 hours, and then falling short right before the end. In that way, I find StarCraft 2 a lot more satisfying and brings me more happiness, win, lose, or draw. And not so much focus on the money side or, you know, like what brings more or what less. Oops. What did I just do? Oh, I don't mean the Spanish show. I just heard myself twice. But yeah, I find poker mentally very fun as a side hobby, but doing it, if I would play poker as much as I play StarCraft 2, yeah, I don't think that would make me happy. Even though I think it's a really fun game, I don't think I could deal with it.
But I think it's maybe a little bit of an isolated example too, because it's one of the worst feelings, playing a tournament and getting the bubble, like just before the money, you know, you play like 16 hours. But that's the thing, like I haven't had that much success in tournaments yet. I've been mostly a cash game player, but I studied tournaments hard. It's kind of been the same here for me since I got here. Like I played 7 tournaments and only cashed in 1 of them. So it's been going really bad. And I was telling that to some other like really good players. And they told me, well, I agree with you. And I felt the same when this happened to me. However, the one time that you're going to win or finish second and win like 30 times or 100 times your buy-in, it's going to make up for how bad you felt this one time when you bubbled, or like when you did bad, or like this many times, because it's just going to feel so good to win the whole thing and best all of these people and be like the one winner, that it's going to be like the opposite. So after I heard that, I was like, okay, well, you know, it does make sense, I guess. Yeah, so it's definitely an isolated thing, right? Like when you played cash, it was different, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love the game. I think it's very fun, and I do think, yes, there are a lot of RTS players in particular, but even, I guess, some FPS players as well that went into poker. I think it makes sense. I think that connection will always be there, and I think in the future we might see even some more connection with current active gamers, maybe playing some poker show matches on Twitch against, like, active poker players right now who had a gaming background. But for me, like, I don't know, I just, the satisfaction, I find it more happiness in the video games, because I think there is not a hard lose, right? Like there are some frustrating days if you get nightless all the time and stuff like that, but I find that kind of stuff a little easier to shake off when you're streaming, because you obviously want to stay happy and positive on your stream, than playing poker for like 14, 16 hours. And you know, some days, like the thing as well is, like Dan said earlier in the show, the balance in StarCraft 2 is really, really good right now. And especially at the level that I have, where I'm still not at obviously the very best, I know that the outcome of my games is not decided by balance. Like I always know that. So win, lose, or draw, I know it's on me, and I know there is stuff that I can improve upon. Poker is a little more brutal in the way, right? Because there are very often where you can play literally perfect and still end up losing, and there is very little you can do about it. So I think that's something that you need to be able to deal with as a person. And I don't know. I think I like the StarCraft side of it then maybe a little bit more than the poker side. As much fun as poker is, like I think for me it will always be a hobby, right? Rather than something I would learn to replace gaming with.
Okay. What about you, Jeff? You're a decent poker player, I heard last time at BlizzCon. Did okay in the one session when we went to the casino.
I'm a good bad poker player. I can do short term stuff, but I think I've had this topic's come up a few times, and I think a lot of it is that work ethic, like you mentioned. It's actually one of the kind of darker sides of poker, as I've had it described to me. Like, you really have to grind out a lot, and you have to get into kind of a monotony and soulless place. That's where actually, like, Nyokin, a pretty prominent Broodwar guy who went to poker as well, he kind of fell out of love with poker because after a while it got too monotonous for him. That's not the case for everyone, of course, but like for some people that's StarCraft as well. You can't just play 10 games and be like, I have a grasp of this. I'm ready to go. I'll go to the tournament in a week. Nope, you're playing 40, 50 games a day, every day, up until the tournament, and then you take all that work into the tournament and try to make that muscle memory work. But I also think what I like, the part that makes me proud, is a lot of good StarCraft and poker players, or just RTS gamers in general, they can do a lot with limited information to no information. They can make choices off of like instinct and pattern reading and just kind of like developing a rhythm throughout the game. And that's where I puff my chest up a little bit as an RTS player, because I think a lot of StarCraft guys in particular and just RTS players, they develop that sense and they develop that ability to kind of act off of that. And for instance, it's helped me a lot in Warhammer, which is obviously a completely different game, but at the same time, I'm making choices and acting and off of stuff that I don't 100% know, but I'm pretty sure I can see where it's going, and that gives me an edge over a lot of people who are more kind of in the moment, like, well, I have King Queen suited, and I believe this to be, in this situation, a good hand, whereas there's a little bit more instinct and feel that develops between RTS players, specifically StarCraft guys and poker, which is pretty cool. But we do have to move it along. Dan has he's got things to do later, so we still want to get to some stuff. But if you're interested in more poker talk, Todd's been tweeting a lot about it and sharing hands, and he's just in Vegas in the heart of it and playing a whole bunch. So you can check him out on Twitter and see those tweets. And then around every Home Story Cup, Kevin, myself, and usually Todd will go steal money from pro gamers and feed it into our caster coifers, as I'm sure you guys are excited to hear.
Maybe when you're here, Jeff, we'll do a little night at the Commerce. I have a couple guys on the stream that would love to play some cards with us. So.
I am super down for that. That is a great
How about
idea.
you guys come to Vegas?
It's too far. We have to
gotta
work.
cast WCS, bro. Gotta do our job.
Yeah, after.
Anyway, so thank you. That was an interesting talk. Let us know in the comments if you have any thoughts about poker and stuff like that. But like I said, go follow Todd. Well, let's move into the tournament updates, and we'll kind of blaze through this. We're going to start with GSL Season 2. But before I turn over to Dan, it doesn't happen very often, but there's a special moment. It happens just about every time Dan feels really confident about something, and I realize this is an opportunity for me to make some money. So a couple of episodes ago, Dan felt really strongly that Patience was going to make his way out of that group. He felt so strongly, in fact, he thought there could be no other outcome. Realizing this was another one of those moments, I asked him, if you believe that to be true, let's do a Tier 3 sub bet to each other. And then all of a sudden, Dan went, whoa, I don't feel that strongly about it. He said, what about Tier 2 if Patience doesn't make it out, and you Tier 3 to me? Knowing that Dan was completely wrong, once again, I would have done a $1 bet, because it's still better than 0. Like, I just need some money from Dan. I just need to get some of that Tastosis money to me. And as it turns out, Dan, your paragon of StarCraft, the guy that studies, he has a show called In Depth. And they just dive deep into StarCraft versus Jeff, the dumb-headed, barely GM guy that's, look at that bumbling fool. The two of us matched mind to mind, and yet I was able to come out on top. And Dan, you'll be happy to hear,
yes,
still hasn't paid off the debt.
We just went over how StarCraft is like poker, Jeff. And sometimes you're going to suck out on me, and that's fine. And I just gave you your Tier 2 sub.
There's the Tier 2 sub, guys. So in the chat, please put your hands together. We got a Tier 2 sub out of Artosis. Okay. No, in Dan's defense, it was pretty close. Patience, what did he go?
I don't remember, Jeff.
I think it was 0 and 4. So it actually wasn't close at all. He got bopped pretty hard.
Jeff. Occasionally.
But we got this, okay, so we had, we talked a little bit about this. We had some pretty shitty matches. We had Classic versus Sue. That was bad.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess we missed also some of those other groups. But yeah, we're in the round of 8. The last night was Classic Sue and Trap Innovation. The Classic Sue match was not very good. It was 4 all-ins right in a row.
Yeah.
Classic taking some European builds and messing them up a little bit.
Yeah. I want to say real quick, the Europeans were upset then. You kept calling it Goblins build, but it's the Marjorie then. It's the Marjorie. You gotta
Marjorie?
Yes.
Well, I guess I used the best player that used it in a good match, rather than a ladder guy that I've never heard of and never seen because I live in Korea.
Be careful.
But sorry, Europeans, for offending you. But he actually really screwed that build up, which was really funny. So simple. It's like the most
I know. It feels like the simplest build ever, and it almost felt like he's like, "Oh no, I got scouted, so I guess I'll just make another immortal, and I'll hit a little bit later."
Wait a minute. What if I have 5 more centuries? I'm like, well, I mean, isn't his army getting too big now? I don't know. That was kind of a Garbo match, though. It felt kind of bad watching that. Sue just got completely destroyed.
Meanwhile, Jeff got a new cannon spot though, so Jeff was happy with it.
Yeah, that was a good cannon spot.
Look out, Jon Snow.
You know what, guys? You're right. We need a patch immediately. So yeah, that wasn't the greatest match, but Trap Innovation was real good. That was a very solid series, really well played on both sides. Very good macro games in there. Yeah, I liked that one quite a bit. And then, Saturday we have a PvP, so we're having at least 3 Protoss in the top 4.
Thankfully.
And then Hero versus Dark, and hopefully Dark can save us from an all Protoss top 4.
I think it's very likely that Dark will save us, and I actually think it's very likely that Dark makes it to the final. Don't you guys think so?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like I think that anything can happen on that side of the bracket. There's like I don't, because Hero has some crazy builds too, like that Immortal into Phoenix build. That's Hero's build, the one that Classic used, and like it's just Hero will come up with some shit that's really hard to stop, but hopefully Dark can stop it all and give us I think a classic Dark finals would be just awesome. They have such a good rivalry going on and everything.
I hope so.
They do. Hey, what about Trap versus Hurricane?
Oh yeah, no, I mentioned that last night. I was like, oh yeah, what if we have Trap versus Hurricane as the finals?
I want Party versus Dark. That'd be sick.
I mean, the one fun part about that would be that there is a new champion, guys. So it's been a while since we had somebody.
It's a good spin, Rotti.
Yeah, I mean, gotta be Mr. Brightside sometimes. It would be cool to finally see
from you.
This guy winning GSL Codes again.
Well, I'm excited.
Yeah, I think Parting. If Parting wins, that's a good result as well, I think.
Yeah, people would be very happy with that. I mean, an actual full-time streamer. No GSL. I would love it if Parting wins. Best post interview ever. Well, he's often shy in his interviews. He's so good on stream, but then he's kind of shy in his interviews. Kind of sad.
Okay, well, that's GSL. The next broadcast, is that Friday, your Saturday, Dan? Is that what we got?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
I won't be there, though, because KSL finals are the same time. For anyone who's been missing KSL, we had 4 Protoss in the top 4. And now we have Rain versus Mini, who they are always at the top of like every tournament. By the way, it was cool to see Stork do so well. That was really nice. But the amount that Rain is better than everyone in the world at PvP can't really be described.
It's gonna be pretty bad.
It's like this is probably like we had some crazy streaks, like Jaedong's ridiculous win rate in ZVZ. We had that, like I Love Uv and Flash both had periods of complete TVT dominance. But what Rain is doing right now, like no matter what build orders they both do, Rain does all the right things and then kills you. Nice. And like he'll make moves, and I'll be sitting there be like, this can't be right. He's going up this tiny ramp with half his army. This can't be right. And then he wins. And I'm like, all right. Well, I guess I mean, he's better than everyone. He's the best Protoss, and he's so good, and he's probably going to win this, which is like we're getting a rivalry created right now, right? So we have Flash, Jaedong, Bisu, Stork, which are like the 4 old gods that are still really good and doing very well. But right now we have Last, Rain, and Soulkey. Two of which, of course, big time StarCraft 2 guys, and last had his moment in StarCraft 2. But
yeah, he played Terran, right, in StarCraft 2.
That's right. That's right. You got third in OSL. Rotti, remember that? It was pretty cool.
He went to an MLG. He had a sick game against Life. That's one that I will never forget.
Who?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hey! Kick him off the show.
Dan, before
Guys, I'm breaking up. I'm breaking up. I gotta go.
Before we move on, Dan, I guess the big question a lot of people are asking about Brood War is the big issue, the balance of the Zealot.
No, I agree, man. It needs a nerf. No, in Brood War, you just got to get good, man, because we don't do patches.
Yeah,
I haven't done patches since 1999. It's not going to change.
That's right.
Well, it seems like Protoss is kind of dominating. Maybe you guys need a patch. I don't follow the scene that closely, Dan, but I see Protoss in the semifinals. So
the map pool.
I like how Kevin turns into a tombstone for this. He's just laughing.
We do everything through map pools generally, and our meta's continually shifting as well right now. It's actually shifting pretty much faster than ever before.
Shifting to Protoss right now, I guess, but
yeah, no, it's the Protosses are doing very well. They figured out how to kill Zerg finally, so they're just like they've always killed Terran, but now they know how to kill Zerg.
Yeah,
and now Rain knows how to kill Protoss, so the reign of Rain begins.
Oh my God!
By the way, Dan, you said that Rain basically cannot lose PvP. So how about we auction that tier 3 in case he loses to any of the two Protosses he has to beat?
Well, Rain is in the finals against Mini, and he will
he was
beat
in
Mini.
semifinals.
No. This is the finals.
Okay, so if he loses tier 3,
wait.
I'm not taking that bet.
No.
Yeah, no, I'll bet a year or two.
No. It's not a bet. It's just if you said he can't lose, so if he loses, you tier 3.
Just tier 3 to everyone, I guess.
Oh, that's a stupid bet too. Why would I do that? What if he gets hit by a bus? I got to give you a tier 3. Fuck off, Todd.
Not to me.
That's the worst thing. If Rain gets hit by a boss, that you have to tier 3 sub to Todd. What about Rain, mate?
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm like, let me just penalize myself in all sorts of situations. You can tell Todd lost 6 tournaments in a row, man, trying to get a tier 3 sub for nothing over here. My God.
Oh my God. There's that spice I was hoping for. Okay. All right. Well, that's going on our Saturday, I believe. So if you want to watch Rain show off perfect PvP in Brood War, you can check it out.
No.
It'll be Tastosis commentating that, right?
That's right. That's right.
Good old Nick and Dan. All right. So that's the KSL. I believe we go to the questions now. Right, Matt? Is that all we have? Matt is stroking out right now, so 1 second.
Internet's completely gone dead on me. I don't know if you can hear me at all. It's not paging down.
Yeah, I can hear
or
you.
doing anything.
Okay, I'll do it, Matt. I'll take over control. We'll go to the questions here. Dan, how are you doing on time? You good?
Oh, yeah. The thing I'm supposed to do has been pushed back slightly. So.
Okay. We'll get through this, you guys.
Just for the Pylon show.
The final show. There's some good questions here. I did check, and thank you guys for continuously filling this up with questions. Good and bad. Hyper Turtle asks, let's drag the 4-player map topic on even longer. We're mostly in agreement that they don't work well in StarCraft 2 as the first battle can be over before it starts. Why do they work in Brood War? Is there more room to use good mechanics to survive a surprise attack? Less hard counters? Dan, do 4-player maps work in Brood War?
Yes, most of our maps are 4-player. And yes, there is more room for micro and macro to keep you alive, and there are less hard counters in Brood War. That's something we've talked about a lot. We don't have units like the Immortal in Brood War.
You gonna call it the Immortal like that?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, the Immortal just kills shit, man. It's like they have Immortals and you have Roaches, and
you
it's
need
like,
to get
oh,
with
that's
the times, Dan. We're hating on the Warp Prism and the Zealot right now. It's not the Immortal.
What about the Zealot on 4 players map?
Exactly, Todd. Thank you.
Zealots are very good on 4-player maps.
All right, Hyper Turtle, thank you very much. This next question is a very special one here. AA Ron asks, please excuse me for English is very good. How to make phone call for Tasteless for 10,000 ruble? I enter Patreon for entire salary. I only make phone call for nighttime. Tasteless voicemail not even connected. He pick up and make noises of snore and hang up.
You just made that up. There's no way.
That's a question. I'm just doing my job.
It's amazing.
I can't wait until Nick gets the final laugh and some dumbass does do a $1,000 Patreon tier. And that phone call is I want it recorded and everywhere. It's gonna be so amazing.
It's gonna be the most awkward phone call ever.
Can
You know what?
Can you hold on Patreon? Can you sign up for like
1 month
a tier and then cancel before the payment comes out? Like,
no, your money's gone.
Oh, because I was gonna say let's all get calls from Tasteless.
Backfires, he gets like $5,000.
He's like, I'm making $100,000. Whoa! It's like, nope.
I don't know. I'm just gonna say it. I have not asked other people this. There have been some times where there's like a GoFundMe and it literally is just a potato salad and it got like $30,000. It was just a potato salad. I want to know, and I don't know who should do this, but if we put together something to raise up $1,000 and put it in the pockets of Nick Tasteless Plot for 1 month and make that phone call and record it, is that good content? Is that a good use of $1,000?
It's not.
That's the problem I have, Kevin, because I know it's going to go straight to cigarettes and
If he didn't know that
booze.
we did it, if he didn't know that we did it or it was being recorded,
yeah,
that's good content.
Oh,
But he would
well,
figure
that
it
would be tough.
We know exactly what it would sound like. He'd be like, "Yeah, thank you so much for supporting." Yeah,
Yo, that's really cool, man.
Yeah, this is a piggyback broadcast Patreon.
I can do it the Russian
those
voice.
$1,000 are gonna get me to the soft underbelly of this chicken bowl that I've had right now. So thank you very much. And see you tomorrow to GSL. Like that's pretty much what it's gonna be.
We love you guys.
I picture,
We love you guys.
I picture just like Aaron asked it, like you could hear his. He'd be like,
"Well, it's this Nick Tasteless Plot. How you doing? Yeah." So what's your question, dude? Thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon, by the way. That's
I want to see it. I think it'd be really good. All right, Crispy asks, to everyone, which computer game soundtrack do you like the most? And I think that's a really good question, Crispy. Todd, what computer game soundtrack is the best soundtrack to you? And I have the answer, by the way.
I have the answer.
I have the answer.
No.
Wait for Todd. Todd, you go first.
Warcraft 3 and Starcraft 2.
Oh, God.
No, you're wrong.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3.
Whoa, that's a good answer.
Oh, that is a good one. That's a good answer.
Son of a bitch.
Answer.
It's not the correct one, but that's very good. Dan, what about you?
Hotline Miami. I'm just going to hang up the call. You guys are so stupid I can't be here right now. Holy shit, you guys literally don't even know.
When did you play Hotline Miami?
Look at the chat. Notice how the whole chat knows, and you guys don't.
No, wait for
I never
this.
thought I'd side with the chat over you guys, but
Wait
here
for
we
this.
are.
I was going to say StarCraft Brood War.
I want to know which one of you hipster motherfuckers tweeted that answer to Dan, because first of all, he doesn't know a game called Hotline Miami exists, so I don't... The idea that that's his pick is, like, so absurd to me. It's like... No. Chat, tell me if I'm wrong. And here's the thing. It's not wrong. Stellaris. And I knew a lot of people were going to know I was going to say it. Stellaris is the best soundtrack in video games.
Really, I thought all you play is XCOM.
Todd, you'd be incorrect. I play several games. But I do play a lot of XCOM. Stellaris. I'm not seeing a lot of yeses in the chat, by the way. You guys going to go with Hotline Miami?
It's Hotline Miami.
What the fuck is Hotline Miami even? What is that?
It's like
It's a
2D
game.
right?
Yeah, no, it's like a shooter. It's super good. If
You
you
don't-
haven't played Hotline Miami,
You
do
didn't play
yourself a
Hotline Miami.
favor, Jeff.
Oh my.
Oh, of course I played it. It's like the best game ever.
Wow.
If it had like a head versus head, man, I wouldn't even talk about StarCraft. All right.
Great question, Crispy. I do like Kevin's answer of Tony Hawk 3, though. That's a good answer.
That's a good answer too.
Well, what's the soundtrack for that even? It's just like
Stellaris? It's electronic.
video game soundtrack or actual music like they did in FIFA and stuff?
His question was just
Actual
computer
music.
music.
Okay.
Said to say computer game. All right. Hydro33 asks, Nurchio, Artosis, and myself all have Polish heritage. And we're all super salty McNuggets. Do you think do you love it, Dan, when people speak on they're like, yeah, we're all pieces of shit. Do you think particular nations or perhaps age cohorts are saltier than others? If so, why? It's great that you asked us, Hydro. I'm gonna go with Todd for the first answer on this one. Todd, do nations dictate levels of saltiness for people?
Possibly.
Possibly. Kevin?
Absolutely, I believe in that. Like, obviously, you can't speak for everyone, but you speak in percentages. And I'm convinced that certain nations are way more than others.
Would you say that certain nations are also more relaxed because it is
Yeah,
people there?
Yeah, especially when they live in Amsterdam, Todd. That's correct.
I didn't even see where that joke was going. Kevin snuffed it up. No, this is absolutely true, and I know it's like not popular to talk about. First of all, it's a generalization, so of course you're gonna be like, no, my sister dated a guy named Brad from Sweden, and he had brown hair. It's like, yeah, I know. There's stereotypes get broken, and it's a generalization. But as a longtime player of StarCraft, oh my god. And I'll tell you what, one of the best ways, this is good advice, because there's a lot of shitty trolling going on out there. Let Poppy Jeff tell you a secret. If you can guess the age or nationality of someone, and there's no indication otherwise, like if their name's like Puerto Rican or something like that, then obviously you're like, are you from Puerto Rico? It's a pretty not shocking guess. But if they start talking, and you can be like, you wouldn't happen to be from so-and-so place, would you? You've never seen someone tilt faster, because they know what just happened. They've just been found. They've been pulled out of the shadows. And that is, in my trolling days, which I can't do anymore, because people pay me money to be a professional, so I'm very straight. I don't troll anymore. You guys know that. That's what I used to do. Is like I'd hit the guy would just be like, third player on Blue Storm, color me surprise, and I'd be like, are you Russian? 17 years old, and they'd be like, your fucking dog mother is going to find bottle in fire, and I'd be like, yeah, I think that's where you're from, aren't you? Like, gee, God, comrades, get together, we destroy American scum. And I'm like, yeah, I feel like I called it, and that's all I'd say. It was really popular for a while for Korean players to say something about dog, and then something around 9/11. It was very popular to talk about 9/11. So it'd be like, your dog mother 9/11. Well, they didn't use that voice, but they'd be like, dog 9/11. And I'd be like, you're from Korea, and you're trying to make me feel bad, aren't you? And they're like, yeah, I am. One of the best ways to troll. But while we're generalizing, Americans are super weird. So if someone starts talking to you and they're really fucking weird, probably an American. That's usually that's the stereotype.
Are these questions from Patreons?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Zesty asks, barcodes make me sad. You knew Kevin was going to be on, didn't you? Are you in favor of them or not? Or what would you do to change them? It seems like you can find them all around the world. For instance, my local place won't let me order more than 2 drinks at a time when I'm the one paying. What? What's the worst barcode you've encountered?
I think it's a troll question.
Is it a joke?
Yes, it's a joke.
For instance, my local place won't let me order more than 2 drinks at a time.
What did you think he was talking about?
Oh, it's a literal barcode. Yeah. I have a tough time with jokes like this because he could be paying in cash, in which case the joke doesn't make any sense, right?
No. It's a code for a bar, a place you go to drink.
It seems like you can find them all around the world. For instance, my local place won't let me order more than 2 drinks at a time.
Let's just go to the next question.
No, but what do you mean it's code for bar? Yeah, it's a bar, but where do we get code from?
I think sometimes
a code, a law, a rule.
Yeah, a code to go in.
Oh my god.
These are all words that can be used interchangeably, Jeff. Welcome to English.
All right. Here's the thing. Here's what just happened, by the way. The dad in this group snuffed this joke out in 2 seconds flat, and I'm trying to like, oh my god. Thank you, Zesty. Great question.
Thank you, Zesty. You know, on a slightly more serious note, I gotta applaud the North American letter. Very, very few barcodes on NA.
Yeah.
Generally impressed. Good behavior, guys. Well done. Europe is still like, I don't know. The levels are high. Let's just
try hards.
But NA has been very pleasant.
Why? I don't know. I need to find someone. Whenever I hit a guy that's like 5.1, 5.2, and they're a barcode, I'm like, what do we? Who you hiding from? Like, who's?
I feel like the only barcodes I play are legit, the 5-1, 5-2 guys, and they like because they're the only ones that you play, and they always do like a weird one base all in or something.
Yeah. I've been working on this since Diamond. You can't steal it. It's like, well, I'll still steal it. It's just, anyways. Nyan asks, this is kind of, yeah, I'll just put it out there. What's a super uncomfortable question you could ask someone in the Pylon show to host or guests?
That one, maybe?
Yeah. I actually see one that's kind of weird. The one like 2 below. That's a pretty uncomfortable question in my opinion, but anyway, I don't know.
Well, I'll see. I can't see it yet, so I don't know. Yeah, I guess the word I would dial in on here is could, because there's just a bunch of. I know this is probably a joke question, but I wouldn't ask questions that would purposely make someone uncomfortable. But one of the things we do like about the Pylon show is we ask kind of hard-hitting questions, and sometimes that can be kind of uncomfortable, but we don't shy away from that. So that's the best answer I can give you. But yeah, I can't tell if you're joking or not. Ivysaur EG asks, I grew up in Burbank. What do you think of the city? Do you have a favorite place to eat? Dan, what do you think of Burbank, California?
It's pretty cool. I've enjoyed going there, and I've spent a decent amount of time there doing casting out of that studio. Not a lot, but I'm trying to think of places that I've eaten there.
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh yeah, the Buffalo Wild Wings I went to, and BJ's. That's right. Todd's always making me go to BJ's, and I've eaten at the PF Chang's. It's in the mall.
PF Chang's, fantastic local restaurant. Yep.
Yeah.
All of
you
them.
guys don't like PF Chang's?
No,
we have those in Korea now. They're super expensive, but they're good.
That would be so weird. That's like going.
Am I part of a joke right now? I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Are we hating on PF Chang's? What did PF Chang's do to you?
Yeah. Burbank's nice. I think it's really lovely there. It's cool that we get to go there a whole bunch. Kevin, you've been hanging out there. Is it you liking Burbank?
Yep. No, I absolutely like it. One of my favorite restaurants as well is the Boiling Crab. If you've never gone there, if you ever have the opportunity to go to one, it's super fun. Basically feel like a kid. You just dip in these bags and there's seafood everywhere and it's drowning in sauce. It's a really, really fun place to eat. My overall Burbank is just it's a beautiful city. I don't think it's the most adventurous place on earth, but downtown Burbank is nice. It's got everything I think that you want. Like good bars, good food, cinema, and they like Starcraft, at least in the arena nearby.
Yeah. Todd, have you been there?
Yeah, a bunch of times.
He likes BJ's. We already know that.
I like BJ's. I like Buffalo Wild Wings. Anything that's a chain and from America, I like. So
that's true.
I'm pretty happy when I'm there. Usually.
TGI Fridays and Applebee's.
Yeah. Cold Stone.
Cold Stone. They have that too, by the way, in Burbank.
Yeah. Cold Stone is the shit. I love it.
Dude, Europeans are so funny though. The restaurants, I don't know. Like I go. You know, Todd will take me to this like 100-year-old authentic local restaurant for whatever it is, Poland or something like that. They come here, they're like, guys, where the fuck is the TGI Fridays? I need that shit now. Every European, all of them. And we'll go there, and there'll be 7 of the European, you know, it's like Hero Marine, Showtime, they're there, and they're like, ah, yes, TGI Fridays, very good. We're like, oh.
Give me my ribs.
You know, Jeff, I was actually thinking of you today because there's a Jersey Mike's around the corner here, which is kind of like Subway or Quiznos, whatever. Yeah. But then they have more like cold stops, but it's really good. Last few times, but they have different sizes, you know, like they have the mini, but nobody ever orders a mini, fuck that. Then they have a regular, and I went for a regular the last 2 times because it's close to like a foot-long sub, but I had the feeling it was like a little bit less than a foot-long sub, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna order the giant ones. But like the regular is like $8, and the giant one is $15. So imagine how much bigger the giant one is. It also said it had like 1,900 calories. So I got this massive sandwich. And I wanted to take a picture, but then I had Jeff in the back of my mind. He's like, these Europeans always, they have the option to order whatever they want. They always order the biggest fucking thing on the menu. Dude. And then it's like, wow, look at America. The food sizes are so big. It's like,
every time.
I'm walking with a 40-centimeter sandwich, but I'm like, I'm not going to take a picture because
Kevin. Dude, the funniest guy for this, by the way, hands down, #1 funniest guy on this trope, and it's every time he's at an event. It's TLO, and he'll like, he's like this healthy yoga guy in Europe. He's like, just went for a jog, had some Had some strudel with my morning croissant. It's only 400 calories. It's very good. And then he goes to America, and he's like, for dessert, they gave me 17 scoops of vanilla ice cream and chocolate. And the picture's like him, like just eating all of it. And he's like, America, am I right? Fuck these guys. And I'm like, you ordered it. You don't have to order that. There's other options. They have healthy options. They're like, America just slathered these cherries on my nipples. I'm like, okay. Every time. And the Europeans, it's such a funny, like, high horse tweet. They're like, I can't believe they even let me order this. I had 3 of them. I have diabetes now. I'm like, oh my god. Shampoo MacTavish asks, why aren't old maps used in new tournaments? Nostalgia is one hell of a drug, and I think a lot of people would be excited to see games on old favorites like Daybreak or Ohana, which means family, by the way. If old HOTS / Wings of Liberty maps are too outdated, some rotation with old Legacy of the Void maps could mix things up at least.
I like the new maps. A lot of old maps are not balanced for the way the game is played anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you look at Daybreak, that is a terrible map. Oh my god. If you ever made pro gamers play on that, woo.
Daybreak is like actually quite good, even I think, compared to some of the other maps we used to play.
No, that's for sure. If you really start with that, like Wings of Liberty maps, Wings of Liberty. Oh my god, Metalopolis. Yeah.
No,
Jesus,
maps
I think you can blink between the mains on Metalopolis. Like the prism can siege itself in between the mains. And you put your stalkers in and pop them out on the other side.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Yeah, like 9 o'clock or 6 o'clock. That was so stupid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's not. Thank you for the question and your Patreon money, but no. QB Fire, throughout StarCraft 2, who have been the most well-dressed casters, and who have been the least well-dressed? Bonus if you have time. What was the silliest outfit you've seen someone cast with?
I was, I think.
I will absolutely
Todd
say I was
tries
one of
to
the
be
worst.
the most well-dressed caster with his Hugo Boss trousers,
Yes.
but they always have dog hair all over them. So, like, I don't know.
True.
You freak.
No,
you guys know that story? I went to the Christmas party of Artosis, and I legit have Hugo Boss trousers, and his dogs just kept on jumping all over it, and there was dogs there everywhere. So I was not very happy.
Yep.
And Artosis laughed a lot.
Yeah. My dog's like you. I don't know.
I don't know. I find it kind of a weird question. I don't know. I think people have looked fine. I can't remember anyone looking very silly unless they obviously went for that and tried to wear a funny outfit. I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, I don't have much of an answer to the question.
Everyone kind of dresses a bit like a slob when they show up because we all switch anyways. So everyone's got like a t-shirt and like, just comfortable clothes. I can't think of anyone that actually shows up well dressed.
Well, there's an age-old in control tradition, and that is every single BlizzCon or big event, they usually hire similar or new clothing people, or they rotate the regular people out. And the same thing comes up every time, where they're like, Jeff, we want you to be in a button-up dress jacket. And I look at him. In years past, I was like, no, it looks terrible. I fought him. Now I just kind of chuckle and I go, sure, I'll put it on. And I put on the jacket, which is made for my shoulders, and it makes me. Because my shoulders around my chest is 72 inches, and then my waist is 34. So it's like this incredible difference. But if you put a jacket on me that's not tailored, which I don't have, because I'm not going to spend $5,000 on a jacket I'm not going to wear very much, it turns me into the Kingpin from Daredevil. Like, I literally look like a mob boss made out of solid granite, and I just look ridiculous. And I always just put it on and stand in front of them, and they're like, ooh. It's like I'm on fire. They're like, take it off. Yeah, take that off. I'll ask Mark if we can wear something else. And then he's always like, yeah, that's fine. And then I wear something else because I look terrible in those gigantic jackets. So I'm the worst.
Shirts-wise, Nathanias often looks like an accountant when he shows up.
Yeah,
yeah, he does. He does.
For sure. Like, I don't know if it's the color or the style. Probably both, but yeah.
Well, Nate is still convincing us that he's bringing 4 gray shirts to every event. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it, but
yeah, okay. GGMany19 asks, I found it interesting that Artosis cited the Classic / Sue match as the series that was bad today, where this Protoss hate topic came from. But that Reddit thread was extremely civil. The trap innovation one was what was a complete shit show. Does this change any points you were mentioning on this already?
Well, that's interesting. I didn't check the threads, but I think anyone who actually watches the series, if you look at Classic Sue, Classic just all-ins basically 4 times in a row. And that's it. And then he just kills him or doesn't kill him. So I don't find that to be that entertaining. It's, you know, he's kind of trying to abuse lack of scouting and things like that and does a good job. But I don't find that to be a very good match. The trap innovation, I mean, if people are flaming about that, the thing is innovation did play really, really well. I like everything he was doing. I really felt it was good stuff. He was microing well. He was macroing well. He's making really interesting strategic decisions, and you know, just it was really, really good games from him. I don't know why people would be flaming too much, because I think that Trap has kind of quietly been the second best defensive Protoss for quite some time in this matchup. Like, Stats was definitely above him, but Trap has been coming up for a very long time. And I mean, if you look at the way that he plays these games, like his flanks and the way he spreads his army out, he kind of does a lot of great map control and stuff. And so I don't know why people would be whining about that one more than the Classic Sue one. I felt like the Classic Sue one was a better argument against Protoss. Whereas when we're getting into these long macro games that are actually very close and Trap is outdoing him, are you going to complain about that? Or are you going to complain about the sharp timings that Classic is doing? I'm surprised that it's the innovation way.
There you go. All right, thank you for that really short answer on that. Alessander asks, today is Liquipedia's 10th anniversary. Do you ever go look at your profile page and fact check it?
No, but I do sports earnings every day in the morning.
Still got it.
I do. They keep writing my MMR is lower than it actually is. So they got updated. It's like RotterdaM peaked at 6,100. Updated at 6,128 right now.
Oh my god.
And then a week later, it's like, guys, we got 20 more. Update that shit. So yes, absolutely.
I haven't checked mine in a long time, but happy birthday to Liquipedia.
Yeah.
That is such an important resource.
Very important. Been fantastic. It's great that people work so hard on that too. Labor of love. Last question. Red Gunner guy asks, as we have a couple of Warcraft 3 guys on, what would be considered imbalance in that game? Also, what is your favorite unit and hero and why? Love the show. Thanks for being on. Great guest and giving us good content. Good luck. Have fun. So Todd, try to keep your answer, I don't know.
Keeper of the Grove?
Simple.
Yeah.
Everything is too good except human.
So, yeah. All right, Todd. What's the most imbalanced thing in the game, though? What has to change?
How much time you got? It's hard to pick one, honestly. I think recently Keeper was like really obnoxious to play against. Keeper of the Grove is a hero that uses Antangle, which immobilizes your units and does damage over time to it. Artosis and Rotti, you know, they were laughing at me, but Rotti played a couple games, and I think he definitely felt that was fun actually watching that. I gotta say, I could feel the pain through your eyes, and it was quite a good moment for me. What do you think, Kev?
Yeah, it is a funny welcome back party when, like, for the last 9 years, you basically tell people that, like, Warcraft 3 is a bit more about micro and Starcraft 2 is a bit more about macro. And then you play Warcraft 3 and a hero shows up and it keeps your unit pinned to the ground for 40 seconds while it does damage over time. And I only have 4 units, so every time it happens, I lose 25% of my army. I'm like, I don't think this is very fair right now. But...
Oh, you make me want to return my pre-order. God, that sounds terrible.
I don't want to make too big of a call balance, but I've always thought that Orb of Corruption is too good. Like the way that the Undead army functions, I think Orb of Corruption is very, very, very good. It reduces armor basically, and it allows them to pick up units very quickly one by one. And yeah, that seems. I would like to see that change. And Keeper, for sure, Keeper.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Blade Master.
And my favorite hero to play is obviously the Farseer. I always enjoyed Farseer because, I don't know, like maybe I'm a bit obsessed, but I always like creeping as clean as possible and not take any damage on my units. So I like Farseer because then you could just summon temporarily units, kind of like a Locust, and they absorb some damage, and then your army is still full on HP. But yeah, recently they changed some of the creeps and the levels, and it's actually kind of annoying right now because my wolves keep getting perched, and I thought it was very frustrating. But still Farseer, baby.
And I think the guys for my favorite unit in Hero, probably Knight and Blood Mage. I think I have 2 pretty cool units.
The favorite unit for me is the Raider, which is kind of like Phoenix. They run around. They're not incredibly strong, but they can also keep units in one place, and then you can just kind of pick them up.
Oh, nice. There's that ability again.
Yeah, and Snare is kind of like Entangle, and that's why I like it.
If
you like it when
yes,
you can do it.
Rotti is annoying as fuck to play against in Warcraft 3 as he is in Starcraft 2.
There you go. Okay, well, thank you guys for those questions. We have one final essay question. It's the Chapter 3 of Zesty's ongoing saga here, so I'll just read it. As soon as Matt puts it back on the screen. There we go. Red lights illuminated the bridge. Warning klaxons were roaring, nearly drowning out the bellowed commands from senior staff officers through intra-ship channels. Status report. All weapon systems. Robinson fired, addressing the fervent room. Thanks 4, 5, 7, and 9 all down, sir. The rest are operational and awaiting instructions, replied Weapons Officer Parikh. Bracing himself against another barrage of scourge hits, Robinson retorted, awaiting? They're not here for handshakes. Fire all starboard lances at that Leviathan. Throughout the ship, a deep rumbling as the starboard banks drew their power from the main generators, acquired targets, and fired simultaneously, led Robinson to recognize yet another damaged system. Recoil dampers were out. He knew the ship better than anyone and raced to protect his crew from devastating lateral acceleration that threatened to turn them all into red mist against the bulkhead. Brace, secure maglocks for high Gs. The deck officers scrambled to engage their safety systems just before the Barristan rocked sideways from the incredible power of the batteries firing upon the Zerg foes. The hybrid batteries arced into space, crossing the distance between the two mammoth opposing forces in a split second. Hundreds of Zerg flyers were incinerated from the proximity of the blast, tearing apart their carapaces. The upgraded weaponry sheared through the Leviathan. Wait, is this Star Wars? You doing the Star Wars thing? Leaving seared holes through the Zerg flagship. 3 hits in succession blasted through the head of the creature, decapitating it. Within moments, the tendrils swatting away strafing Vikings and Wraiths fell limp. The Leviathan was dead. Robinson, grunting over the torsion off being displaced from the recoil of the cannons, addressed comms officer Cherniga. How do you say your name, zombie robot? I just get the chur, and I'm like, get Stemkowski on the line. We need to figure out what the fuck is going on in this system. To be continued next week. Wow.
Damn.
Very much, Zesty. I will wait till then.
If this story gets really good, who owns the rights to this?
We do.
We own it, or does he?
No,
own
we
it?
do. Yeah,
we own it. Okay.
It's published by us and read by me, so it's yeah. We'll rewrite history and just take this and sell it. No, I'm just kidding, Zesty. It's your story, of course. All right, guys, that's the episode. Thank you all so absolutely much. Let's give a shout out.
Can I ask one last question? Sorry,
yes, you may, Todd.
Dan, have you changed your stance on streamers advertising in an ad on your stream since last time I was on the show?
No. Why would I? If
Okay,
there's an ad,
if you finally came to your senses, or if you're still playing that card.
How do you guys feel about pausing? Has your opinion on pausing evolved, you guys?
I let people pause actually sometimes now.
Look at that.
See? He changed his mind. Look at him.
I give them a 30 seconds countdown though. And not 1 second more.
I believe it.
They don't say anything. Hey, I mean, you better believe it.
We have 30 seconds, says Todd. How do you deal, Todd, with the breaks in between poker levels? And they're like, we're on a 5-minute break. Does Todd go like, fuck no, keep it going?
2-hour breaks, like dinner break. He's like, once you do the cards.
There were a couple moments actually. There were a couple moments where I was like that. I was like, why the fuck are they pushing this back? And like, it was pretty annoying. But I played mostly cash. In cash, you play whenever you want. But yeah, in tournaments, it was pretty annoying. At WSOP, the 20 minutes break that you have every 2 hours is spent waiting in a line with 1,000 other people to try and go to toilet. And 20 minutes is not enough. So you miss a couple of hands.
Todd's opinion on pausing continues to be on the negative of it. Wait.
Bullshit, and I know it. I tweeted at them too.
I believe it. All right. Thank you guys so much. Let's give some shout outs to the people that make this show possible. We have on screen right now our patron supporters. Thank you guys so much. We say it every week, but I hope you know the ongoing support's incredible. And if you're a new supporter, thank you so much. And if you're not a supporter yet, why not? if you could join us here and we get enough money wrangled together, we could maybe one day do a phone call with you guys. We'll have for $10,000. What if I told you could call Matt Cobra Venom right now, and he would talk to you about IT stuff and what other things Southern people talk about. Like,
He's very
How
good.
long of a phone call? How long of a phone call?
6 hours, I think,
you
Matt,
get
right?
15 minutes
No?
to 6 hours, depending on how long
15
you want it
minutes
to go.
6 hours. Yeah, we'll do that. He's got a wireless headset. He can do it. Just kidding. But thank you guys so much. Really appreciate that. Like I said, we can't do the show without it, and we really, really do appreciate that. We also have Lycan and his tea, of course. If you use the code, I really should memorize this by now, but it's Pylon, right? Code?
Yeah, I think so.
Just Pylon, I think. Yeah, Pylon. Save you 15%. So if you're a tea drinker, please check it out. And then on Matcherino today, the word is Eco Day. E-C-O-D-A-Y. If you put that in, it costs you nothing, but it puts some money towards our prize pool, which we get to cash out towards the end there. And even if you're listening to this on YouTube or whatever, you can put this in whenever. It just maxes out and won't let you put it in more. But please do continue to max it out every week. That's great. And there's some wonderful merchandise there that you guys can check out as well, like shirts and mugs and hats. And if we see you at an event, we'll hug you or whatever, shake your hand, say hi, all that stuff. So that's it for our sponsors. I want to give it's just truly a treat. Oh no, sorry, excuse me. Let's show the Pylon team as well. Excuse me. We got Cobra manning the show. Alessandro doing a fantastic job finding all the subjects. Alleluia is one of the quiet soldiers of the show. He does the timestamps. What's up?
We didn't talk a lot about the upcoming PSI Storm Gaming tournament.
Oh my god, we didn't. PSI Storm Gaming has partnered with Pizza Pie Weekly to offer up what they're calling the Lamborghini Open. So this Sunday, if you compete in that PSI Storming Gaming tournament, you could win one of Jay's Lamborghinis. If you place, I think it's if you're in the top 16, he's just raffling it off to somebody. Is that what he said?
I don't think there is a car up for grabs, but there will be a lot of Starcraft being played or on the East Coast, another PSI Storm Gaming tournament. They've run a couple of these already. I believe this time it's part of like a multi-gaming event, if I'm correct, right? There is some other games happening there as well. But obviously it's just really cool, often brings out a lot of the good players of the East Coast. So yeah, if you are in the mood to visit one of these PSI Storm Gaming events, you absolutely should.
Very cool.
No Lambos though, guys, no Lambos. You can show up in one, that's okay, but you won't win one.
No, that was just a joke. That was me just joshing. Check out the show notes.
If he actually puts one of his cars up for sale, I'm flying out. Guys.
Yes, me too. I'll be there. I think we all would. I think Dan would come out of Korea and be like, yeah, I practiced for 2 weeks. I'll give it a shot. Todd's like, yeah, I'm in Vegas. I'll play. Why not? Anyways, yeah, there's some great tournaments. It's all in the show notes. There's also going to be a Cheesadelphia that's going on. It's giving up 2 seeds, I believe, to WCS. So that's really cool.
Yep.
We love Cheesadelphia. They're a great grassroots movement. So all that stuff's in the notes, but do check it out. Okay. Yeah. So thank you to all the people that make the show possible. I
have one last thing.
Yeah.
You know, Dan, in a couple hours from now, as far as I know, it's in a couple hours. We've got my personal favorite. I mean, like when I look at those USL matchups, I do get excited. When I look at Sarah winning another tournament, that does really make my heart beat a little bit faster. But you know, there is one matchup I will always live for. A cracker in WCS Oceania, and it's coming up in just a couple hours. It's Probe versus Risky once again.
Oh, shit. That's going to be crazy. That's going to be crazy.
I love Risky's such a funny guy. He's got a funny spot in the community too, because he's like deep in the C Oceania qualifier. And I've just like through Twitter and our chat and the show, I've seen so many memes and jokes about that already. They're like, Risky, I guess, tried to qualify in the NA, bounced out, and now he's in the C qualifier. He's deep in it.
He won it last time when he played from Korea. And I believe, is he in Korea again, guys? Could
I think
somebody
so.
in the chat confirm that?
I saw him like a week ago, so he was still here.
Definitely, definitely. But he's also been whining a lot about Protoss, and he also said, I just don't want to play Probe and stuff like that. Yeah. So apparently, Probe is truly the guy to beat. He had a great Kiev, by the way. He beat Nemcher and stuff. Anyway, 6 hours from now, guys. Probe versus Risky. Put your alarm clocks. You don't want to miss it.
This is an important one for me and Rotti in our relationship. So
wow. It'll be good. It was a great show, guys. We had a lot of fun. Let's do some shout-outs, and we'll wrap it up. So, Todd in Vegas, how much longer are you staying there, and when are they kicking you out?
I'm flying to Home Story Cup directly on June 26th, actually.
Oh, damn. You're there for a while, bro.
Yeah, I got some more time to grind here. And
why don't you come to LA and hang out with us, Todd? Like, instead of trying to bring all of us to Vegas, come have a little poker night with us.
What am I gonna do in LA, bro? Like,
play poker.
Vegas is where it's at.
Play poker, eat wild wings.
There's a 24-hour buffet.
They have a PF Chang's, Todd. Did you know that?
There's 3 of them on the strip. There's everything here, guys.
That's true.
Not us, your friends.
Oh, shit. Todd, I'm actually going to be in Vegas next weekend. Not this weekend, but next one. Let's get dinner. Yeah.
Oh, what a great friend. Yeah. Thank you for telling me. And I only invited you 15 times and you never came.
And look at that. And now I'm accepting the invite. Check out Todd on Twitter. We have it on screen. He's been tweeting a lot about poker, but he's also obviously he's going to be at Home Story Cup, which is great. And then you're going to start streaming some Warcraft 3 in the near future. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe I might try to stream some from here. I only have my laptop, but yeah, I'll let you guys know if I am. Otherwise, as soon as I get home, obviously, I will resume my streaming duties. Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for having me.
Todd and I will eat all the Vapiano.
Vapiano's is great.
It is great. It's the best food in
Prefeld, which doesn't say much.
It does not say.
Oh no, I think the kebabs are better, but
the kebabs are good too, but they do not come out as well as they go down. I will say.
Jesus.
It's true though, and I'm not even lying. No. Kevin, you're in LA. You'll be off to cast WCS this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're going to Home Story Cup later as well to unite the boys. But what else you got going on? You've been streaming a whole bunch. You've been having fun in LA.
Yeah, this is the only day that I think I haven't streamed yet, other than maybe like last weekend when I was traveling. But yeah, basically excited to cast WCS NA Challenger. That was not the main reason why I came here, and Europe, of course, as well. But since I'm down the street from the studios, Blizzard is like, hey, you don't need a hotel, you don't need a flight. I'm like, nope, I'm right here. They're like, well, okay, then, okay, if you want it that much. So excited to cast with you guys. Other than that, obviously streaming almost every day. Most days right now, I'd say I go live around 10 a.m. Pacific, so 1 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. European time. It's a bit different, but I'm actually been having a lot of fun on the NA ladder. I'm enjoying looking at a rank that I normally don't look at. It's like people come in every day and they're like, wow, Rotti, you got so good. It's like, actually, I'm just the same, guys. It's just I'm slightly higher ranked over here. But yeah, it's been fun, having a lot of fun. Looking forward to seeing you. Obviously, Home Story Cup down the road, and after that, it's going to be very busy. So for now, I'm just going to enjoy my streaming time and basically just relax a little bit.
Now, Kevin, as I understand it, your organization Clash was able to, and this is a huge treat, one of the biggest up-and-coming commentators in the StarCraft 2 scene, one Ben DeMuslim. I heard that he recently went toe-to-toe with the world champion Cyril and was able to defeat him resoundingly in a long macro game. Yeah. He's also been commentating a Clash show match with you? Is that going on as well?
It's not a show match. It's an ongoing league.
Wow.
By the way, Dan has to go. So, Dan, do you want to go say goodbye real quick?
I got to run, guys.
Yeah.
Bye, Dan.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye. It was a fun show.
You guys can follow Dan on Twitter at RotterdaM08. Thank you so much, buddy.
Have a lovely day, Dan. It was fun. Good seeing you. Bye-bye. So, yeah, it's not a show match, Jeff. It is the Clash StarCraft 2 Season 2 Invitational. We did Season 1 last year. Basically an ongoing league, round robin. Everybody plays against each other. Top 2 of each group will qualify for the offline event, which will be held in Italy somewhere down the line. Last year, we had Cyril winning that tournament. We had 4 Zergs qualify for the offline event. This time, we have a few more Protosses and Terrans in there, especially the Terrans are doing really well. So, yes, I'll be casting tomorrow morning, I think around 10 a.m. Together with Ben. We're going to do 3 best of 3s tomorrow. Players like Marine, Lord Clem, stuff like that.
Very
basically
cool.
Europe's elite going up against each other. Top 4 will make it to Italy once again. So yes, after we did the community series with Clash, we're now once again running a professional ongoing league, a little similar to some of the leagues that Rotti does, but with an offline finals. So it should be really fun.
Very cool. Well, guys, check that out. For me, I will just say the Pylon show will not be airing next week. Our very own Matt here, Mr. Cobra Venom, will be going off to do some E3 coverage and hanging out and canoodling, which means we won't have a producer and won't do the show. We also will not be doing a show the week of Home Story Cup, because I'll be at Home Story Cup, and then I think Artosis, or maybe it's Matt, somebody else has a conflict, but we will be doing an episode the week after E3. So not this next week, but the week after we are, and then we're off at the end. So that's your heads up. It's going to be on the website, I'm sure, and schedule all that kind of stuff, but just so you know. Also... Oh, just for me. I'll be at WCS this weekend, streaming as per usual. And make sure and follow all of us on Twitter and check us out. We're doing a whole bunch of cool, fun stuff. So thank you guys so much. It's been a great episode. It was a long one, but I thought it was really good talks, and I had a lot of fun. So thank you guys. We will see you not next week, but the week after. You guys have a great time.
Hey Jeff, what about the Zealot?
What about the Zealot, Kevin? It's perfect the way they made it.
You guys, we love you guys.